All right. All right, everyone. Welcome to the Autonomous Systems Showcase. My name is Osher Ademski. I am the Managing Director of Deep Tech Showcase. Happy to have everyone on the call here today. All right, so today's agenda is we're going to start with an open topic session and then move on to an autonomous systems session. The idea, why are we doing what we're doing? And in a few words, it's to simply connect the startups that are developing novel and innovative technologies, especially the really cutting edge that's both dual use, so commercially viable and federally viable or on the state level viable, and bringing them to the end users, the customers, the investors, and the federal agency representatives that can actually use the technologies and make sure that they actually get to market. Anyone who has been in the industry or is familiar knows that there is a gap between the companies that are developing the really bleeding edge technologies and the companies that make it to commercialize businesses. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to help and aid that process and help more companies get out there. We did this in a few ways, but what we did is we created an ecosystem where startups, investors, corporate, and government tech scouts can all find each other and meet and figure out a way to collaborate. So the first activity that we have, and I think everyone on the call is somewhat familiar because you're here on the call, is the showcase events. At these events, we have companies present, usually for 5 minutes piece, and then there's 5 minutes of Q&A where people get to kick the tires and see what's really under the hood with that company. In addition to that, we have guided introductions. So if you're on the call and you say, hey, I like these companies, but they're not in my field of interest, I'm really an energy investor looking for energy deal flow, feel free to reach out to us. We're always happy to help put you in contact with relevant companies, at least that we come into contact with. Just so everyone on the call knows, we usually are in the seed to series A, B. Sometimes it gets a little further space, but really our sweet spot is seed to series A. And usually a lot of the companies that we're working with are looking to get government traction, US federal government traction, to help commercialize their businesses and also to help with the R&D. Two upcoming showcases. Space Showcase is going to be on October 26th. So everyone on this call who's interested in that, feel free to join for the next one. And there's also going to be a chemical showcase, which is very graciously co-hosted with VC Ventures, which should be really interesting. It's going to be chemicals, and we're also going to be talking about decarbonization through a material standpoint, which should be pretty fascinating in my biased opinion. All right. Now we are supported by Eagle Point Funding. So our colleague from Eagle Point Funding, Benjamin Sampson, is going to tell us a little bit more about our sister company. Benjamin, the floor is yours.
Pleasure, my pleasure. I hope I won't take up too much of your all time. Just want to let you know. So I'm Benjamin Sampson. I'm Director of Business Development here at Eagle Point Funding. And what we are is we're a grant consulting and a grant writing firm. And our goal is to really help companies find and access non-dilutive R&D funding that is available out there from the U.S. federal government. So if you're familiar with SBIRs, STTRs, broad agency announcements, OTAs, we help with all of those into really going ahead and applying for those grants. And so we want to handle not only the sourcing of the grants, but we actually want to handle the vast majority of the workload. So we take on the budgeting, the technical documents, business proposals, formatting, editing, laying it out, submitting to the agencies, communicating with the agencies, essentially whatever one of our clients will let us take off their plate, we will, so they can go ahead and focus on their R&D. Now, we've been in the space for over 20 years, which has allowed us to understand this federal funding system. Yes, obviously, you can go to grants.gov and find some grants yourself. But what we know and what we understand is who these agencies really are, what they're really asking for. We were able to read between those lines, utilize some of our connections to be able to pinpoint and target our clients to be able to have the extremely high rate of success that we do with our grant submissions. Additionally, we're really looking to work with clients for about 18 months. And that allows us to apply to 15, 20, 30, 40 grants during that time, with the idea being let's find as varied funding from as varied sources as possible to allow companies to really maximize their potential and their visibility across the government. And then lastly, we realized pretty early on that these grant reviewers, they're companies' peers, and so what we actually realized what we could do is the more we could sell the dream, sell the vision of the startups that we work with, and how what they're proposing is going to really change the status quo and change the market 5, 10 years down the line. We found that the more that we could put that into proposals, the better as we do. So that's really our MO at this point is to without sacrificing the technical side, sell the vision of where these startups want to be down the line and help them achieve that through grants. So if you're interested and you want to talk, I'm happy to talk about your portfolio, or if you're a company, you want to talk about your particular situation, feel free to scan that QR code, book some time with me, or send Asher an email. I'm also going to stick around for about 15 minutes if you want to send me a message on the chat. Happy to talk and see if there's what we can do and how we can help you and your portfolio.
Just
Asher?
very short. Can I ask a short question?
Yeah.
Benjamin, sorry. I remember I saw your guys' presentation a couple years ago when you guys started, but could you remind me very just briefly, because this came up a couple of times already with the startups, and I just didn't know. And the first thing they ask, how much are they charging? And just a very short, what you guys are charging? I remember there was just some percentage that you guys
Sure.
were.
So our business model is a consulting fee and a success fee. Like I said, we're working with you guys for 18 months to apply 15, 20 grants during that time. So the consulting fee is actually 6 quarterly payments of $21,000 for a total of $126,000 due over the 18 months. And then we also do take a 5% success fee on any of the grants that we help a company win. But I will say that if a client that's working with us in good faith, they're clearly responsive, making this a priority, they're doing their best to help us whatever capacity that we need, we're willing to offer a guarantee to our services. And the guarantee is that from the grants that we've applied to during those 18 months, they'll see at least $1 million in funding by the end of the 18 months, with an average client's return by the end of those grants, by the end of that period, being anywhere between $1.5 million to $3 million in funding. But that is our business model.
Okay, and so sorry, it was 5% you said on top of the 120?
Correct. 5% of any of the grants, any grant we win over $7 million, we won't ask for any more than 5%.
Thank you.
No problem.
And I had a quick question for you, Benjamin. So is it only for US-based companies, or if they are coming from a different country and they have a US subsidiary, they can still apply for these grants?
So they can still, primarily it's for US-based companies. They can actually go and apply if they have a US subsidiary. It gets a little bit more dicey in the sense that the US subsidiary is going to need to control the IP of what they are actually doing. And the ownership of the organization will need to be 51% controlled by individuals who are US residents, green card holders, or citizens. So it's okay if a VP is controlling 51% and the parent company is owning 49%, but it does need to be individuals. It can't be a larger corporation that holds majority share of that.
Got it. Thank you.
Perfect.
Asher, take it away.
Absolutely. Yeah, and feel free to set up time with Benjamin. He's happy to speak to everyone's companies, CVCs, VCs, corporations. I can vouch for him. He's a good person to speak with if you have any more questions. All right, with that, let's go quickly over the agenda. We're going to start off with an open topic session with Kilo Labs, Outsmart, Geometals, Privacy Hawk. And then after that, autonomous systems with AVOT, Compute AI, Runwise, Birdstop, Target Arm, Luftcar, and thank yous and farewell. All right, so for the open topic session, what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly go around and let's have everyone who's on the panel introduce themselves and quickly say a little bit about what you're looking for, or, I guess if you can quickly state, the kind of the target or thesis that drives either your corporation unit or VC or CVC. So let's start with Han Ko. Han, you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Han Ko. I am a president and CEO of USACO Group. We're an investment company, VC investment company. What's unique about the company is that we have a strong platform. We're a company based out of USA, but we have a strong platform in overseas. We have an office in South Korea. So we do a lot of businesses over there. Well, not just South Korea actually, Asian market, as well as some European. Again, looking forward to working with you, and hopefully this platform can build upon some future good endeavors. And also, I want to say thank you to Usher and the team for this great platform every month. Thank you.
Sure, absolutely. All right. Next up, Jonathan Wu. Jonathan, you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Sure. John from ITIC. ITIC is the venture arm of E3, ITRI. Some notable spin-off including TSMC, UNC, AUO, and all these tech company. And mostly I look at communication tech, and also lately been looking at a lot of the power semi, and mostly investing seed Series A. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jonathan. All right, Samira, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Yes, so Samira Curtis. I run a syndication fund. I just finished the work for the European Union. I developed a startup program for them for when they have the companies coming into United States for expansions. So I'm also running a mini lab at this moment that really helps the startups also with globally. So work with Taiwan, Indonesia, all across the globe when they're actually looking for expand and raise money in the United States. So I specialize in the startup, I would say. So
Sure. Awesome. Thank you for joining. Istvan, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Istvan Janier from Sidespin Ventures. We do early stage, I would say early revenue investments. We're generalists, and I do have a PhD in machine learning, so you can guess the types of deals I like. That's about us.
Sure. Thank you, Istvan. All right, Casey Van Manen.
From Pursuit Ventures. Pursuit is out in Menlo Park. We're a deep tech focused fund. First fund of ours is 50 million. We target pre-seed through Series A opportunities in three main silos. First is up and down the semiconductor supply chain. Second would be most of deep tech, excluding healthcare, life sciences, biotech, those sort of things. Third is IP driven vertical SaaS. We cut checks anywhere from 250K to about 3 million. Primary markets for us are the US and Canada, with secondaries being Latin America and Europe. And we are follow-on investors, so we don't lead.
Sure. That's awesome. Thank you, Casey. All right, next up, Dan. You want to quickly say hello?
Yeah, I'm Dan. My full name is Pandan, and I am representing BDev Ventures here today. We are a generalist fund as well, but our new fund is going to be focusing on deep tech. That's why I'm here. It's going to be $250K to $5 million based on the round dynamics. But we try to add value upfront. That is, if we cannot add revenues to their top line in the first 4 months of commercial due diligence, we would not be able to make a deal. But if we can, we have a bigger value creation system so that they can continue to grow with us.
Perfect. Thank you, Dan. All right, Cassandra.
Thank you. Great to be here and see everyone. I'm Cassandra Carruthers, the managing partner of Departure Capital. We are a US-based firm investing in early stage category defining deep tech companies that are addressing really massive existential level problems. So the three main verticals or categories we look at are critical infrastructure on Earth and beyond, and that encompasses a lot of the deep tech showcase type companies, advanced autonomy, robotics, AI, machine learning, next gen compute. We also look a lot at rejuvenation of planet Earth, so everything in the realm of climate tech and clean tech, and then future of human health, which would encompass the life sciences to some extent. Primarily co-investors, we invest usually in the million or under at pre-seed and seed, and then sometimes larger checks at Series A and growth.
Perfect. Joseph, you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Asher. Joseph Blaya. I'm actually in the military. Been over there for 16 years. I worked with a couple cyber projects and also a TAC-5 when it comes to the Air Force. And then I'm actually looking to see what kind of endeavors we can utilize for our military operations from day to day. And thanks again, Asher.
Perfect. Thank you for being here. All right. Next up, Arjun, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hey, thanks again, Asher, for having me here. I'm a venture and incubation advisor for Vesco, which is a Fortune 200 company focused on B2B distribution sales. So I advise them around two areas. One is around their CVC, and second is innovation. Specifically, think about building venture studios for the enterprise through early stage startups. Three areas that I focus on is supply chain, which is kind of the nervous system for Vesco. Electrification or mobility, which is kind of a secular trend which is a strategic imperative. And the last is broadly, I would say, digital enterprise. I'll think about AI, ML. Those are the three areas I focus on. Good to see you all here.
Good to see you. All right. Last but not least, Stephen Potter, you want to quickly introduce yourself? I'm not sure if Stephen.
Yeah, sorry. I was just
Sure.
reaching for the mute button. Good afternoon, everybody. Steve Potter. I'm with a company called Pratt Miller Engineering. We're the early stage technology development arm for Oshkosh Corporation. My focus specialty is in business development and tech scouting for autonomous and robotic systems, both ground and UAS. And then I also have a specialty in hybrid electric, hydrogen powered powertrains and fuel systems for operational energy and reduction of JP8 requirements for the military. I spent 30 years in the military, retired in 2022. And my last job was autonomy and robotics director for the 75th Innovation Command. I look forward to participating.
Absolutely. Happy to have you. All right. With that, I think that I hope I didn't miss anyone. I know there are some people who hopped on and off during that, so I might have skipped them. But when they ask questions, they can introduce themselves before they ask a question. Just so everyone knows on the call, before we start, if you would like to ask a question during the Q&A period, please do. We're happy to have questions. Just to make it more organized, feel free to use the reaction button on Zoom of the hand raise. Or raise your hand physically and I'll get to you, I promise. I'll try to if I can notice it. But use the hand raising system and then we can get to all the questions, hopefully. With that, I'm going to let Dan Young take the floor. Dan, the floor is yours. Whenever you want to start sharing your screen, we can get going.
Thank you, Asher. I appreciate it. And while I'm getting going here, can you guys hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Perfect. Okay.
For myself.
Yeah, and everybody can see the screen. You should see quality up there. All right, fantastic. Before I get going here, though, I want to, and Asher, forgive me for doing this. I want to put a quick plug in for Benjamin and the Eagle Point team. We're a client of theirs and been very, very happy with the progress and the results we've made with them. So that plug over, and that's not how I secured the first spot in line either. But real quick here, I'm going to give you a brief overview of Colab Technologies and our signature product, which is the Colab XCIM product, which is a data analytics and data management, and then user layer 8 focused tool and platform for cybersecurity operations. The genesis of the platform came from the U.S. military and the USIC. So I spent a tremendous amount of time in both the U.S. Air Force as an intelligence officer, and then moving over and working directly for the DoD in what's called cyber C&D, so computer network defense operations. The focus of this is, if we can get here, much like in the private sector, the government sector has the same problem, that there is a ton of tools that organizations acquire and use for different security verticals and a lot of different data feeds that they pull in and ingest. But that becomes a big hodgepodge that becomes quickly very difficult to manage. A lot of different products have stemmed from that need. There's TIPS, threat intelligence platforms, XDRs, extended detection and response platforms, and others. But they kind of don't cover the whole gamut of the use case, and they don't specifically focus on the user. The XAM environment is specifically combining the best traits of XDR, TIP, and digital forensics incident response tools into a unified platform. Colab specifically takes those concepts and then applies it towards the user layer, which is layer 8 in the topology parlance. And specifically, we're focusing on the people, the process, and the technology on how to better drive business intelligence value from all those key value propositions. We do that via integrating, automating, and transforming data. So integrations means sourcing and collecting data from disparate data sources, data silos, as they're also called, and then unifying those operational spaces by combining alert streams, threat streams, and analytic pipelines. And then at the end, delivering better intelligence value to the customer space. Operationally speaking, for the U.S. military, that means providing more tactical information to the warfighter. In the business case, that means providing a lot more tactical information on the kill chains. What happened? Why did it happen? What do I need to do about it? And oh, by the way, who do I need to alert and inform about all this? And to be able to do that across a whole bunch of different systems, when you're looking at millions of different records and events, and being able to categorize and concatenate all that together in one unified platform, that's the actual sweet spot that Quillab fills. The platform itself, as you can see here, those are talking about data sources. So these are, a lot of these are bidirectional. So we don't really source data in the upper left-hand corner, threat intelligence sources, or your security control stack, like your SIEM, your EDR, your IDS. We also push data then down to analytics engines or pipelines, like in the lower right-hand corner for domain tools and in virus total intelligence and other capabilities that analysts are using on a daily basis, except we're automating that pipeline. So they don't have to then say, oh, I saw this alert, let me literally copy it or put it and move it over here, get the analytic, review it, correlate that against my entire stack, and then move on. So the foundational architecture underneath the hood within Quillab, on the left-hand side of those data sources we just viewed on the previous slide, brings them in and applies a bunch of different analytics pipelines on there. We have a custom graph data model, connector framework, analytics pipelines, like I just said, and also we have extended analytics capability via MLAI automation. That's done via internally homegrown, and we also partner with several different key partners to deliver that both from a endpoint defense standpoint, so looking at heuristic analysis of user behaviors, so UEBA type activities, and then also looking at network traffic and net flow, so you can see cross-lateral movement and you can identify abnormalities in actions and or movement within your environment. And all of that cohesively comes together and gets put into a refined output that can be customized data reports that are template-based, white labeled to an organizational specific need, or it can just be held within the system and then provided as machine type data feeds in whether it's sticks, taxi, and those kind of different data feeds. Real quick thing on the Quillab platform itself, it is hybridized, so it works on premise, so on hardware, or it works up in the cloud. So customers can have a variety of different deployment methods. I'm going to hit 4 key platform highlights, and then we'll be wrapping up here. The first is our multi-tenant SaaS environment. This is a first for the market, where you have the ability, if you're a large manufacturer, for example, and you have tier 2, tier 3 suppliers, and you want to create an ecosystem where you can coordinate on your different threats with your connectors. They have their own connectors, their own data lakes, but you can coordinate on the events and cases that you're seeing. ICE access also very important for, and also in the government parlance space, that's very important to be able to cross-check and coordinate and work on cases together. The secondary one that we have is automated visualization and reporting. On the left-hand side, you have a kill chain, very highly technical data. On the right-hand side, you have the output with a click of a button that Quillab generates based off of predefined templates that an organization can create. So every time an analyst provides a report specifically like this, I want it to look like this, with this letterhead, with this setup. That's what Quillab automates. So there's no more copying, pasting, and putting into Microsoft Word or PowerPoint. Tons of hours saved as far as an analytics pipeline. Additionally, from a subject matter expert standpoint, within a given organization, you typically have some more senior people and more junior operators. With Quillab, we've created a recipe system where more senior operators can create analytic pipelines. They can save those off as recipes, so that when a more junior analyst, comes across that same artifact type, they no longer have to worry about how do they ingest that and handle it. The platform takes care of it for them and then gives them the exact same output that the subject matter expert was able to create. And then finally, to highlight our partnerships. So we don't do this alone in a bubble. We have a very extensive partnership environment. Dell Technologies is a core partner of ours for go-to-market and also for leveraging on-premise installations. So we can roll out hardware and with our ecosystem built out on top of it. And then the other ones that you see on there, a lot of those data feed providers and others in the market space. With that, open the questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dan. All right. As mentioned, feel free to raise your hand and we'll try to get to them in order of hands raised. Sure, Dan, go right ahead. And then after that, Samara. Perfect.
Yeah. That was a wonderful presentation. My question is, how different is your DFIR hunting system compared to others? And how are you handling with new risks that are coming in? Because you cannot actually plan for all of those events.
You absolutely cannot. So it depends on the security the security footing of the organization that's using QuillLab, right? So if the organization itself is a mature, has a mature team where they have SOC tier 1, 2, 3, and 4 analysts with also the capability to handle and ingest threat intelligence and operate on it, this is an automation streamlining platform for them, right? At the same time, for a more less mature organization, this allows them to build up. So they can say, hey, I have this capability, let me start making best use of it, and then start adding to it. And we offer that as a consulting support too for our customers. We perform pen testing and other things alongside as a value add to say, you guys really need to get away from just having a firewall and getting a SIEM or an EDR in place. So we actually help them scale and build up as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Absolutely. Samira, you're next, and then Han, and then Casey.
Thank you for your presentation. So just like any other cybersecurity company, your presentation is pretty technical, which is totally fine. But my question is, it's a very crowded market, and I am looking to just see how you want to expand this to the market, how you're going to work, what is your go-to-market strategy?
Great question, Samira. And by the way, we have a presence. My CFO is in Switzerland, and I have 2 developers in Germany and Austria. So we have a pretty global presence. As far as the go-to-market goes, we approach the European as well as the US market via partners. So we're partnered with, you saw, actually, I'll just flip back to it. Several of the companies that are here on the screen. What you don't see, though, is our relationship with other big VARs like Carosoft, Data. And then also in Europe, we also partner with 2 other ones. So we have the ability to scale laterally through those partnerships. We also work with like G-Data, Data Group in Europe, right? And then other organizations from an ISP standpoint to service our customers. So it's not just about giving them, just selling something to somebody and walking away, especially in, like you said, that crowded market. We're about creating solutions and ecosystems of trust. And I don't believe one single company, unless you're a Google, can really do that, right? So our focus is on saying, how can we give the best value to our customers and interact with their customized environment? So that goes to the being agnostic to whatever data sources we bring in.
I have a lot of questions, but I think I would just leave it to the rest because I see there are many hands up. But maybe we should just have a one-on-one, Brian, because
I'd be very happy to.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Samir. Han, you're up, and then Casey.
Sure. Hey, good presentation, and I like your solution, especially the fact that you have seems like pretty sophisticated admin tools. I think that's pretty useful in the industry. My question to you is that could you tell us a little bit about your ITAR clearance? So can you work with some companies in maybe overseas and US allies, or how's it work with the restriction on that one?
There is no restriction from an ITAR standpoint on the QuillLab technology. And Han, that's a very good point. So when we developed this, we developed it to be extensible and also customizable by our user base, meaning that the entire platform is written in Python on the back end. So we provide support and licensing, but some of the capabilities that we offer with the platform through partners, those could be ITAR controlled, but we have the ability to sell the platform and then source local or adjacent technologies to address the same needs with our partners. So no problem at all on the ITAR side.
Oh, great. This is very smart that you actually planned this ahead of time with Python. So that's great. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, Casey, you're up.
Thanks, Dan, for the presentation. Just curious about some of the background. When was the company started? I guess what is your sort of readiness level of the technology today? What's sort of built? What needs to be built? And then are you raising at this point?
So the company was founded in January 2020, right before COVID. Perfect time to launch a startup, right? And then COVID hit us. The company has been around since, like I say, January 2020. The IP was in stealth mode for about a year before that. And then as far as where we are on the raise side, we are actively seeking. We're interested to talk to investors. We're not actively seeking. We do have a very robust client base. Some of those partners that you see on the screen their go-to-market partners. We have a pretty extensive pipeline built up. And as far as the readiness of the technology itself, it is fully fledged, ready to go, and we're selling it to customers. Thank you,
Excellent.
Casey.
Perfect. Perfect. All right, Dan, I think that's everyone, but feel free to leave your contact information in the chat because I think there was quite a bit of interest.
Definitely would.
Perfect. Thank you so much for the presentation. All right, next up we have Outsmart Technologies. Presenting for Outsmart is Selwyn. Selwyn, feel free to start sharing whenever you're ready.
You see that?
It's starting. Yeah, I can see it now.
Okay. Thanks, Sasha. And appreciate the opportunity to address the Deep Tech Showcase. Wanted to introduce you in a couple of minutes. So we've got the time we've got over with regards to Outsmart and what we're doing in the security industry. We'll cover those topics. I'll keep it simple. It won't be as technical as our previous speaker. I've come from a corporate background, so bear with me. But our vision is very simple, and that's to better secure environments to provide increased safety and well-being. Myself and my co-founders have had a history of over 2 decades in the security industry, and we wanted to put that experience to find a better solution for the industry in terms of that vision. And what we came up with is this proposition that we needed to provide an intelligent security solution collecting data from multiple sensors and using AI-based algorithms to share real-time preemptive detection and deterrence information to individuals and organizations. And that is organizations, not only private, commercial, but they extend to both government and military and defense. And that's a bit of a mouthful, but attempts to try and simplify that only complicated. So I hope that definition resonates with you all. But we'll come into it and see how we can explain that for you. So in a pursuit of that proposition, we looked at the market and tried to identify the key problems which are still facing the market, which we believe we've solved through our Outsmart solution. And the first being that traditional security solutions offer too little, too late. What we've come up with is an early warning notification and information sharing through our sensors and beacons. So we form a protective curtain of security, if you will, around the perimeter and the surrounds of the property. The second thing we wanted to achieve was to share that information. Historically, the industry has come up with a psychology or a belief that everything has to be siloed, every person or every property has to be siloed, and you fend for yourself. So we wanted to break that in terms of the technology. So we've come up with a holistic community data analysis through autonomous real-time data sharing. Our sensors pick up any suspicious activity, and we adjust the threat level for all connected properties in whether a neighborhood or a gated community or a commercial building. And finally, we've also wanted to provide a system that individuals will be able to carry with them. And again, taking this concept away from the siloed history of the industry from an individual perspective, meaning that the person's safety at home, at work, and in the community is always at risk. So we, as the IP developed, we found that we were in fact developing an emergency alert system. And so we now have incorporated into our overall core technology a emergency alerts function, which stays with you anywhere, anytime. If you're under an emergency situation, the closest Outsmart system to your location would be activated, and that triggers visual and audible deterrence, directs community CCTV cameras, and notifies first responders. So they were the core things. There are plenty of other problems we addressed, but they were the core ones. Now, I mentioned earlier, so we view also this technology as dual use technology, and we found as we got further in developing the IP that we did have defense applications. For those of you familiar with the JAC-D2 concept, I've just defined it down the bottom. It's basically the concept developed by the Department of Defense to develop, to connect sensors from all branches of the armed forces into a unified network powered by artificial intelligence. And that includes Air Force, Army, Marine Corps, Navy, and Space Force. And as we got further and further, and with the aid now of Eagle funding, we're tendered for several grants. We're finding that the ArtSmart system is perfectly aligned with what the Department of Defense is trying to achieve with this concept. So we share information. LOE means lines of effort. It's just one of the technical terms they use. Sharing information advantage. We enhance situational awareness. We integrate, obviously, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and real-time response for tactical deterrence measures. Edge operational support, which obviously is the perimeter. Modular design and partner data integration, and cloud-based advantages. They relate to cohesive response strategies, centralized global security management, self-updating, and our proprietary data privacy and cybersecurity measures. What's not on there is, interestingly, another aspect of where we fit in is in base security. Actually, there's not a lot of base security, particularly integrated base security across the US Space Forces. We think our solution can go a long way to helping that, and also that our emergency alert can also assist with soldier security on the bases.
30-second warning.
Thanks, Sam.
Yep.
Thanks, Asha. Some other competitive advantages. It's a self-learning intelligent network. The communications are via a self-propagating data network, meaning it finds its own network. There are no boundaries in the network to establish a link through to our servers. Simplified mobile interface. We believe our hardware will go a long way to eliminating false alarms, which is another industry problem. And importantly, this technology and the products and hardware are cross-border and cross-country. So you're not having to leave hardware behind. We can actually track each piece of equipment. And as I've mentioned, we integrate with existing security systems and products in the commercial field as well. Addressable markets, I won't labor that, but they're big markets, security, home markets, heading to 106 billion by 2030. Small business aiming to buy 429 billion. They're just basic addressable markets. Intellectual property, I mentioned, we've spent quite a few years making sure that we had an end-to-end system. So our US patents now cover intelligent information sharing, emergency alert, security installation and maintenance, and our corner security sensor device, which is our hardware. Just a bit of traction on our history, and I'll finish on this. We had developed the first CCTV video management system back in the early 2000s. It's the MAX 1000. It was for commercial application. It was acquired by Honeywell, and they sold that product for the following 20 years. We've also developed a visual asset protection of a digital video recording system that's being used by one of the world's biggest iron ore miners as security for all mines, ports, and rail sites. So the road ahead for us is basically continue to focus on our core technology and getting the go-to-market strategy. We believe we have got something different. We believe we can move the needle in the industry, and we hope to do that with channel partnerships, alliances, evaluating investors, and continue obviously with our product development and research. So thank you for your time. I appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Selwyn. All right, like we said before, we'll get to the questions in order of hands raised. Feel free to start asking away. Perfect, Dan, go right ahead, and then Cassandra.
this was a well thought out presentation. So thanks for that. So my question to you would be, are you actively targeting the small and medium businesses right now? And if so, what is the value proposition there? Because they do not need that advanced technologies like JADC2, right? So how do you position the product for them?
Yeah, I mean, that the system can stand alone on its own, whilst obviously the advantages of having a community sharing information system can be valuable on a standalone basis. The hardware, because it's based off perimeter, can substitute for video recording, although a lot of smaller to medium-sized companies believe having remote video services is the way they can proceed with security. But our hardware can do a very simplified job for small to medium businesses on a standalone basis. But the benefit of having a networked system obviously is to their advantage, because typically people intent on crime will move to the point of least resistance, whether it be in a residential community or in a commercial environment. They will just go where they find the best opportunity. So if you've got a system in your office or in your business that preempts and notifies you in advance that something's happening nearby, then your system's on alert from that point, not when they get there and do the damage.
Got it. Thank you.
Perfect. Cassandra, you're up.
Thank you, and thanks, Selwyn, for the great presentation. I appreciated the use cases you outlined, and would be curious to hear a little bit more detail about your go-to-market, in the sense that you outline channel partnerships and strategic alliances, but how specifically you're planning to sell, and if you're thinking any creative channels, maybe partnering up with existing security providers, for example, or even if there's an insurance angle, just brainstorming there. And within that question embedded, would like to hear more about your business model, hardware versus solutions, and so forth.
Yeah, there's quite a bit in that one, Cassandra. I'll try
Yeah,
and
it's a
address
packed question,
but
but all business related.
I think if I go to the end point, which is clearly where we see ourselves as a platform ultimately, which can be accessed by not only individuals, but particularly in the commercial sphere, integrators, security system integrators. But it can also apply on a singular basis to, say, department chains or insurance companies wanting to offer a value-added product to their customers. If they want to reduce their insurance claims, our system can obviously be fitted into the residential sense. But as a platform, we see ourselves at the back end, and people being able to access that for a fee on an annualized basis. And our model contemplates that if commercial organizations want to white label our hardware, we'd be open to looking at that proposition as well. So I think for us, it's more about being the back end and the intelligent back end, and allowing people with the customer interface to be able to take advantage of that. So that's how we see the model evolving over time. But having said that, we know historically with our experience with the products we have done, you need to get there and show that it actually works and get some traction. So we know about product traction quite a bit.
Thank you.
Perfect. I think that is the time we have. But thank you so much, Selwyn. And make sure to leave your absolutely. Make sure to leave your contact information in the chat. And I think there's some good interest there. Perfect. Next up, we have geometals. And
all right.
Ray
yes,
will
sir.
be presenting.
Let me just share the screen.
Perfect.
All right.
I think the camera is doing some fun stuff on your end.
Yeah, we go with live cameras. To wake up. There we go. Can you all see the screen? And can you all hear me?
We can see the screen. And we can hear you.
All right, very good. Hey, good day, everyone. Thanks for the time and the opportunity to introduce the work we're doing here at US Geometals. My name is Ray Juman. I am the president of US Geometals, and we are based out of Houston, Texas. So I just got one slide here that offers a backdrop following this one for our project. And I think this is a very well-educated audience, so much of this may not be a surprise, but I think it has good context to the work we're doing. So a couple of realities. Number one, electrification across the globe is happening. We see it happening here in the US, and we see it happening everywhere. A lot of investment being brought into the space to add, electrification to the grids, and a lot for mobility. So a lot of money being spent, a lot of time being spent. Second reality, demand for lithium is growing. Here in the US, we actually expect lithium growth to well surpass the current ability to supply it. The US market, today only produces about 1% of the lithium that's globally available. So quite a demand ahead of us, quite a need. To give you context, in the next couple of years, 2025, 2026, we see demand here going in excess of 75,000 tons a year. So quite a strong demand outlook. Met by reality number three, that sources today cannot keep up pace with this demand projection. Rationale there is simple. It just takes a very long time to bring new production online with conventional sources being hard mines or brines. It can take upwards of a decade sometimes just to get permitting done here in developed countries. In theory, though, the US has enough lithium in the ground to meet demand. We've got about 750,000 tons available per the US Geological Survey as of 2021 that are economical, but none of those have come online yet. So with that backdrop in mind, I'd like to introduce kind of the idea behind our project. We took it upon ourselves here to explore this opportunity for domestic lithium production in the United States based on some work done by our lead scientist on this project, Brian Mueller, who's sitting with me, about 2 years ago. Brian, at that time, was doing work on a carbon capture process where he was, exploring, opportunities within brines, producing brines, flowing brines today to see what could be done to harness, sequester, and, repurpose carbon. In that work, he came to a realization that lithium was present in most of the brines we were testing. And they were becoming present in a lot of cases to the point where viability for extraction needed to be explored. So we embarked on this journey of, doing some due diligence in that space. We took it upon ourselves and we commissioned this project internally. And our work up to this point has been specifically focused on brines that are coming out of producing assets, i.e. producing oil and gas wells. And the reason we kind of emphasize that focus was we thought, hey, look, this is a brine resource that's readily available today. It's flowing. Whether folks are aware of it or not, we're producing tons of water coming out the ground. This type of system requires, and this type of focus requires no new wells or no new pipelines to be laid. So we saw ready access to something that could offer a promise of viability on a brine resource that was already existing. Fast forward to where we are today. We've done dozens of experiments, and I'll go through some of that here in the next slides to see if this was possible, number one. Number two, to see if it could stand up to an economic threshold. And number three, to validate that the solution we arrived at was scalable. And again, I'll explore that here in a minute. Before we got to, the opportunity to extract, though, we had to address one fundamental challenge in this space. And that is most of these assets that we were looking at have a production of water per day in excess of 10,000 barrels. So we had to find a way to address that water volume that was coming in because there really is no way to stop that water. What happens today is water comes out of a well and it's re-injected in the ground, as part of a normal production cycle for an oil and gas process, which many of you may be familiar with. So through a novel combination of technologies which require no thermal input or no thermal processing or chemistry, we have found a way to reduce that water volume in 2 steps. First time, it's probably done in a ratio of around 10 to 1, which has the opportunity to be a little bit better, yes. And the second step, it reduces that by further 20 times. When we reduce the water in this way, we're able to treat this ecosystem of water in a manner that we have demonstrated to be economically viable. The process actually is quite ingenious because the CapEx requirement for something like this is about 20% of every type of facility you would normally associate with lithium production. And because of the reduction in produced water and produced treated volume, we're actually able to reduce the chemistry dependency by 1,200%. And I reducing the cost to do this by 1,200%. I gave an example.
30-second warning.
Yeah, I give an example here of what this looks like. 10,000 barrels a day could give you about a ton of lithium chloride in some of the waters we've been playing with everything being pumped back into the ground for industrial reuse. These are some of the more recent examples of the work we've done. These are some large experiments, almost 9,000 gallons of water treated, where we got lithium concentration up significantly and removed most of the bad actors in there. So high impurity rejection. So I'll just fast forward a little bit over this, Asher. In essence, it's a novel process that synergizes with a carbon capture one, reduces chemistry consumption considerably, generates no chemical waste. There's no methane involved in this because there's no forced evaporation, and it repurposes water for recycling or for other industrial use. Tons of experimentation on live real brines, with our plan to go to demo plant scale here at the end of this year. That's an example of what some of the equipment looks like. We've been testing on those right now. But really where we're at is this. To accelerate this work, we're asking for help here really to accelerate our needs to automate, scale up, and continue to build out this team. In terms of the team leading this, I'll end with this, considering the timeline for today's talk. These gentlemen are in the room with me. My contact information is on the bottom of that slide, and we'd be happy to talk about the details of this project with anyone that's interested. I hope I met your time there, Asher. Try my best for that 5 minutes.
Yeah, all good, all good. And it looks like there's a few questions already in the thing. So it's going to be Arjun, Samara, then Casey. All right, Arjun, started us off.
Excellent. Thank you, Ray and team, to kind of sharing this. Pretty interesting what you guys are doing here. As I said, electrification is one of our focus areas within Invesco. So 3 questions I have, 3-part. One is, who's your buyer? The number 2 is, what's the risk? What risk are you seeing here? And the last is kind of you touched upon, but towards the end of your slide, but it was not clear. What is your ask? Are you looking for investment, or what are you looking for here?
So buyer, yeah, I'll answer them in the order they were asked. So buyers, number 1 for us would be the domestic EV market. We think the timing of this project marries well with the coming online of the new gigafactories. And our intent actually is to produce a technical or EV grade lithium carbonate or lithium hydroxide product. So that's kind of our focus market. All our tests suggest that we're well along a path to success with that. And sorry, what was the third question?
Second was risk, and third was ask.
Oh, risk. Okay, so the only risk we see here is really time to get the pilot work done. Our next phase is a pilot scale up here in field. We want to go validate all the work we've been doing pre-field and demonstrate that we can produce 1 metric ton of EV grade material. That's going to give us all the input we need for project economics and really allow us to scale up. That to me is a critical gating step. And in terms of what we're asking for, yes, funding. We are now, and literally this is the first talk we've given on this in a public domain. We are now soliciting funding because we believe we've got the data and science to support it. We've got the evidence. We've repeated it dozens of times. So we'd love to talk about anyone who has an interest in a project like this.
Thank you. I'll drop my email here. I would love to kind of follow up on this one.
Thank you, Arjun.
Sure. Samara is up next, then Casey, then Istvan.
Yeah, hi, thank you for your presentation. Yeah, I am one of those people who is very critical of batteries and lithium. And I personally don't like the trend that we are going to electric cars. I don't feel that we have replaced really the problem. We have actually replaced the problem with another problem. So my question for you is, mining lithium, it's not good for our environment. We're actually using much more energy for all these batteries. Environmental, we're not really helping it. And I'm just sometimes getting really emotional about this fact that we're doing so much marketing in the market right now. How you guys want to do it? Because you said we have enough in the United States. Yeah, my concern is mining that. So how do you guys see that? Is this something that you get, that maybe this question from also environmental activists or not? And yeah, that's honestly my question and my concern.
Yeah, no, Sumer, thank you for sharing that. That's a valid set of concerns and questions. Look, I tell you, this team here has a predisposition to upstream energy. We're oil and gas people. That's where we started our careers. That's where a lot of our work is today. That's what bears our chemistry backgrounds, and that's what sponsored this project. Fundamentally, the elegance of this is we're talking about extraction from a stream that's currently being treated as a waste stream, i.e. something that's been re-injected. We're talking about repurposing something that exists already with a footprint that looks nothing like what current production footprints look like. These are not strip mine operations. These are not sealer pond operations. Very, very minimal. All we're doing is adding in some chemistry and machinery into that ecosystem to extract the bits we want and, as sustainably as you can, re-inject it. We had sustainability in mind when we first took this on, thus the integration of a carbon process. All of this is being patented. The carbon one is. So, sustainability and being responsible how we do this is at the heart of the work we're doing today. We believe this is the most elegant, most sustainable way of doing this in symbiosis with energy that exists today.
And repurposing the water for industry use.
Absolutely.
At the end of that, also to help with industry consumption of large amounts of water or fresh water.
Thank you.
Sure. All right, Casey, you're up, and then Istvan, and then that's all the time we have.
Great. Excuse me. Thanks, Ray. Very curious about, so my assumption is that the IP of the process that you have in place, the systems that you're able to design, that's yours. Curious to see if you're doing the building and the actual implementation yourselves, or are there co-developers for that? And if so, is there any sort of sharing of IP, or are there any sort of existing partnerships in place for that?
Yeah, the answer is both. Of course, we went out to open market initially to find what we thought could be a solution to, a typical metal harnessing need. We didn't find it. So we took it upon ourselves to find ways to really, combine technologies that existed through a novel use of IP that we own and we have created to make this ecosystem function. And yes, we will be building a lot of our kit post the demonstration. For the demonstration site, we will probably be leveraging third parties to bring that together. It's the quickest way to get it done.
Great, thank you.
Perfect. Istvan, you're up, and that's the last question for this presentation.
Yeah, and I apologize if this was answered. I was a bit distracted trying to figure out the interface here, but I was wondering about the trajectory of battery technology and whether lithium is going to stay in high demand in the long run.
So two things, right? So, we ask ourselves the same things, both from the fundamentals around economics and commodity sustained pricing and fundamentals around demand. And if you accept a reality where it doesn't grow to what's put in the public domain today, 2035 projections, but you assume what's happening as being real today with the next 3 or 5 years, we believe there is, and we know there is a big gap in supply and demand now. So to answer your question in two ways, there is a gap in supply and demand based on current need, not just for mobility, but for also electrification of grids and simple things like phones, etc. And secondly, we did not take on a project where economics would persist or economics would need to survive at current commodity pricing. Our ability to extract this viably is well below what's done today. We are arguably a third of the cost of what's done today.
I think just on a quick, I'm going to add that I'm going to try to interpret your question. I think you're referring to competitive technologies, and you hear about them, and there's fundamental reasons why, especially for compact, high density energy storage, lithium is going to it will always remain at the top. I'm not going to speak to like where there's ample space, but I actually do a lot of work in the material science, and there's a lot, like I said, fundamentally lithium is here to stay. Just because it's the smallest appropriate element on the periodic table.
All right, perfect. I believe that's all the time we have. There were a lot of questions, so I'm sure there might be follow-up questions. So feel free to leave your contact information in the chat. All right, the next company we have to present is Privacy Hawk. Presenting for Privacy Hawk will be Aaron Mendez. Aaron, the floor is yours when you're ready.
Thanks, Asher. Hi, everyone. Great to meet you. My name is Aaron Mendez. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Privacy Hawk. Gonna just share my screen here so we can get this presentation going. Is that, are you able to see that well, Asher?
Yep, I can see it.
Okay, great. So at Privacy Hawk, we're a cybersecurity company. What we do is we help individuals and organizations reduce their digital footprint, which reduces your risk of being targeted by fraud, hacks, scams, and data breaches and system compromises. So we're going to use the Department of Defense as an example for the application of this, but it applies to any large organization. So the problem that we're solving is that your personal information and third-party accounts and vendor relationships that you have in your organization is a massive security threat. For the Department of Defense, they have 3 million personnel, which is 3 million individual digital footprints, which could be hundreds of data exposures per person, or billions of potential attack vectors just for that single organization. So these are things like, let's say you have your .mil email address, you work at the Defense Department, and you might have, over the course of 5 or 10 years, signed up for like hundreds of different things, and not all of it is within the walls of the Defense Department. Sometimes you have to go to some third-party cloud-based service and create an account with your email, and you create a password. Then in order to use that service, you have to give them a bunch of information. If that third-party vendor gets hacked, now they have a bunch of information that they can use to attack your organization. And if you look at that at scale with hundreds of thousands or millions of personnel, it's this massive attack surface that's not really being addressed right now. How big is the problem? So outside vendors cause half of compromises. So here's some examples of some third-party breaches, Target, Microsoft, Cisco, Home Depot, but also the Department of State, Department of Homeland Security, Department of the Treasury. So I think it's a myth that because the government has everything on platform one or in some sort of sandbox protected environment, that everything happens within their walls. That's just not the case. Everyone has to use third-party vendors, and those third-party vendors can get hacked. So our solution is it's called individual data protection, but basically what it does is it identifies automatically all of these third-party risks that an organization would have, and then helps reduce the digital footprint and attack surface of those third-party risks by basically deleting old accounts that you no longer need and monitoring on an ongoing basis to help identify new potential threats and remove those. We have patent pending technology that we've developed that does this automatically. One thing that I want to clarify, because cybersecurity is a very broad space, is that this is not like an antivirus. This isn't something that sits on your device and protects your device from attacks. What it does is it goes out and finds all these databases where your personal information or your organization's information is stored. And if those databases get breached, then now you're compromised as well. Some of the use cases of this technology, so the things that it can help prevent is computer systems compromises, IP and technology theft, intelligence leaks, system hacks, system takeovers, in the military case, undercover operative exposures, spying on internal systems, satellite takeovers. The company has significant commercial traction. So we have both an enterprise and a consumer product. So our consumer product does this for individuals because individuals also have this problem of their individual data being all over the place. We have over 160,000 users, thousands of active paying subscribers. We're currently in the process of applying for a phase 2 grant from the government with a MOU from the Air Force, and we have a patent pending on our digital footprint reduction tech. And a little bit about the company. I know I'm coming up against my 5 minutes. My partner and I both have decades of experience doing technology startups, and we have a ton of experience with enterprise and consumer cybersecurity. And that's the presentation. Open it up for any questions that people might have.
Sure, it looks like Samira, then Cassandra, then Dan.
Thank you for your presentation, Aaron. So this is a question, and this is actually some kind of comment that I want to make to all cybersecurity. I come from cybersecurity background, so I work for cybersecurity companies. It's very hard sometimes to market it, not being technical, generally speaking, right? So you gotta have a little bit technical background to market this. What I want to ask you, Aaron, if there is one future, because there are so many companies that do the same thing, just give me one future that you think your company is unique and no one else has it in the market. One future.
Right,
and that's what I actually want to give that to all the cybersecurity companies on this call, because what I'm missing on the presentations, your value proposition in the market. What makes you as a company unique? And if you can have even one slide that you can bring some of the competitions that you can show us, like, okay, you know what, we have this unique feature that no one else has.
Right. So what's unique about us is that we're the only technology that actually identifies all of these third-party risks. So there's nothing out there that finds where the data is in the first place. So a lot of cybersecurity is about protecting your network, which is very important, but nobody's going out there and finding all of these exposures, and that's unique to us. And then actually we have technology to go remove those exposures as well. Both of those things are unique in the enterprise cybersecurity space.
The third party part is actually very unique, but no one else has it. Thank you.
Right.
Perfect. All right, Cassandra, you're up.
Thank you. Great presentation, Aaron. I'm fighting with myself internally whether to ask you about SolarWinds. So if you feel like you want to comment on that, go for it. But a real question, aside from that, is actually to Samira's point, I also was curious about competition and specific points of differentiation. But beyond that, maybe you could speak a little bit to, because you're able to do these very unique things like the third party identification, then go after those to remove the data. How do you deal with PII, and how are you just, very, very broadly, like how are you dealing with PII to make sure everything stays really secure?
Yeah, so we collect the minimum amount required to kind of do our job, but we operate under SOC 2 standards and have very, very tight security.
Cassandra, I think you're muted. If you have anything else you want to say.
That's okay. Thank you.
All right, Dan, you're up.
Yeah. So first of all, congratulations for raising your capital from Alumni Ventures. I used to work with them, so that brings it home. My quick question to you is, since you're using a dual pronged approach. You have a B2C product as well as a B2B product for the enterprise clients. Are you also targeting some of the mid-market players, like companies with $500 million in revenues and up, or it's only enterprise and then product-led growth with B2C?
Oh, yeah, we're open. I mean, the service works great for any size organization. So we're having conversations all over the map as far as the size of the organization.
And is there any particular industry vertical where you're finding initial success?
I mean, the financial institutions have a very vested interest in protecting their customers, and so that's where we're financial institutions and insurance seems to be where we're getting the most traction at the moment.
Got it. Thank you.
Perfect. That's all the time we have, but thank you so much, Aaron. And it seems like you should definitely leave your contact information in the chat when you're ready. And that wraps up the first session, the open topic session. And what we're going to do now is we are going to, I apologize to all the panelists who are joining specifically for autonomous systems, but we are going to jump forward because we're running a little bit behind on time. We're going to jump forward straight into the autonomous systems session. And what we'll have is that for everyone who would like to ask a question, I highly recommend you introduce yourself, quickly introduce yourself before you ask that question so that the company knows who they're talking to and whose question they're answering. But without further ado, let's have Avat present. With Avat, I believe we have Joshua, who will be sharing his deck right now. So feel free to take up the floor when you're ready.
Thanks, Asher. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Hi, everyone. I'm Shashwat Srivastava. I'm the CEO and founder of iWatt. We build fast-running robotic solutions that is flexible to deploy. The problem with the robotics today is that it's built for single purpose, and that makes it expensive and hard to implement. It requires deep technical expertise to deploy it, and it's usually not able to handle situations that it is not pre-programmed for. We've built a robotic software that performs open-ended tasks in dynamic environments. The end-to-end stack can be deployed on any hardware like robotic arms, automatic ground vehicles, and what you could also configure it to control any number of miscellaneous hardware systems. So for example, like if there are machineries that you want to deploy, the description and interface can be configured for the system to control. What we have actually built is an autonomous agent using the latest AI advancements like large language models, generative AI, and so forth. So an operator can teach the robot or agent how to perform a task by describing the task in English language or showing the human demo or providing any of the visual prompts. It's a very visual system, so it detects and tracks the objects in real time. And based on the dynamic condition on the environment, it generates the action plan on the fly for the robot to execute. The operator can look at the performance and provide it a feedback, and with this iteration, finalize the skill. And that skill is then committed for robot to perform in the future whenever the instruction is provided. We've built a prototype of the humanoid just to showcase the possibilities. The innovation in our humanoid robot was that we could reduce the cost of the hardware by 15 times by moving the precision capability into the software instead of hardware. But the software is not really tied to the hardware we built. It moves around and does perform tasks with its two arms. The value proposition that we provide is the ease of automation with which a layperson can deploy an automation, the complexity of the task, which is not possible because of the intelligent system, and the increased autonomy where a person doesn't have to be with the robot to keep operating the system. It's a lifelong learning agent, right? The skills that are finalized by layperson operator increases the utility of the robot as it goes on. It has a number of applications in the defense scenario. For example, like it can be used for like automating the procedure for neutralizing the threats, bomb threats. It can be used for controlling the machineries to perform repair and construction of blast filters. It could be used, the agent can be used to control swarms of autonomous systems for war fighting and other critical missions, and other things like manufacturing and logistics. Commercial scenarios are food, logistics, healthcare, retail. We've done a customer deployment where the robot performs the production of beverage bottle in Evergreens. It's a restaurant chain in Pacific Northwest. We've done a number of pilots and demo scenarios to show the utility of the system or the versatility of the system, where it can go around, pick up boxes from aisles, go around, pick up garbage from the floor, and so forth. We are working with a few manufacturing customers for pilot opportunities, and the main attraction for them is really the removal of the integration services that is expensive and takes weeks. Our software license would be $960 per month, and that's what we are deploying right now. In terms of competition, like it is the way we differentiate ourselves is taking the AI-centric, agent-centric approach to general purpose robot as opposed to the hardware-centric build. We are looking for deployment opportunities to deploy the solution and prove its use case. We are a team of people who have launched, created, and launched successful commercial products in the past. And with that, I want to show some demo videos to give a sense of how the system works. So basically, this is the tracking of the action and creating the context of where the robot is learning by observation. And then with even after changing the setup, it can do the same task and adapt to the changing conditions. And this is the prototype that we had built to show that a robot built within $10,000 can perform tasks because of AI. This is the video where we've the robot that we've deployed at Evergreens, and this is using third-party arm, universal robot arms. And nothing is pre-staged, everything is just kept on the table, and it keeps on figuring the bowls with the greens and passing them to a human who then do the topping or decoration on top of it. And this is the case where the people, they just bring a crate of bottles and nothing is pre-arranged, and the robot detects and picks up bottle one by one and uses the labeling machine to label the bottles. This is a video where we've shown the humanoid form factor, which can be deployed on a vehicle, autonomous navigation vehicle, and the robot drives that vehicle to move around and perform the task. Here again, it's not pre-programmed, so it detects the box, moves over there, detects the table and moves over there. Sorry, this is already. So yeah, with that, I wanted to spend more time answering questions. So that's the presentation.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So it looks like we have a few questions. So I believe Samira, and then Bao, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, and then Istvan, then Casey, and then Stephen. Sorry if I got the order wrong, but also reminder, please introduce your company or your organization before you ask a question so that Shashwat knows where you're from and how to answer his question best. Samira, go ahead.
Yes, yeah. So thank you for your presentation. I am a founder and general partner of G7 Ventures. So I'm an emerging venture capital, and I do private investments as well. And I'm running a startup program that is actually really helping with the go-to-market strategy for founders, especially when they're so technical, by the way. Question one I have, it's for you. The cost of the machines And I want to get a little bit on your finance side and see how healthy is your margin and have you guys calculated how efficient it is when it comes to the labor and replacing the labor. So that's what I would like to understand. Maybe I missed it somewhere. I apologize if you mentioned it and I didn't get that. So yeah, question is where's your production line? Where do you make these machines?
So for now, what we are just doing the software only deployments. So the customer buys the hardware of the arms and other machines from the third-party vendors, and we come and deploy the software. And the value prop of our software is how it enables more automation scenario. We've built a robot prototype which shows that the humanoid can be produced under $10,000. We haven't started the production of that thing yet. We are planning to, we've run the costing with some customers, experiments with them, and if we charge $3,000 per month for the customer, then customer saves more than 50% on the labor cost, and our margins are like we recover the cost of the hardware within 3 or 4 months. But like I said, that we haven't started manufacturing or deploying that solution yet. We are just doing the software only thing.
It's right now experimenting more. Okay, and how much are you raising?
We aren't raising right now. So we are proving out the software only solution to the customers, and after pilots in next few months, we start raising early next year.
All right, thank you.
Perfect. Now it's your turn.
Yep. Thank you for the presentation. I'm Tao, investor with BMW Ventures. We're an independent VC fund backed by BMW. Question from my side, around decision focusing on humanoid. What do you view on the speed of adoption of humanoids? Because from what we've looked at so far, one of the challenges, there's many challenges, but one of the challenges of humanoids is throughput and kind of precision compared to human labor. And so where do you see this market going and this decision to focus on this segment?
So the value prop of our solution is more like is that we don't require the customer to change their workspace environment. There's no conveyor belt required and so forth. So the robot just goes in and starts working in the environment that they have. So they find that very attractive. It can work alongside humans, so like it can do more of the repetitive tasks. To answer your question, we've seen that our robot can perform a task at 60% of the peak human speed. But the point is that if the human has to do the exact same repetitive task over 8 hours, their productivity starts decreasing. And in our experimentation, we have found that over an 8-hour shift, our robot can do the same amount of tasks that a human can do over the 8-hour shift. And we still aren't doing a very high precision thing of assembling an iPhone sort of thing, but the parts and materials that we are handling, we are able to do the high quality work over time.
Great, thank you.
All right, perfect. Casey, you're up.
Thanks, Asher, and thank you, Shashwat, for your presentation. Casey Van Manen, I'm with Pursuit Ventures. We're a emerging deep tech fund in Menlo Park that focuses on pre-seed through Series A opportunities. Question for you. So in your deck, you mentioned that you were working on both a software and hardware solution. I think today you mentioned also that right now you have the software in place, you're potentially looking at the hardware. Where do you see yourself long-term? Is this a dual solution? Are you maybe going to choose to continue focusing on the software and then maybe integrating by licensing or selling to OEMs? And with that decision, what sort of advantage do you see with whichever way you go?
Long term, we are an AI and software centric company. Our main value prop would always be that intelligent brain that has collected so much data and has learned so much that it can go in any environment and start doing the work. We'll always partner with other people to deploy our software. We are doing hardware just because the current state of the hardware in the market is a bottleneck for adoption of automation. Number one is the humanoid form factor, because like most of the spaces are meant for 2-arm and mobile based to work in. And number two is like with the AI centric approach, the cost of the hardware can be reduced drastically. and those solutions aren't available in the market. So many of the customers that we are approaching, and we think that we can make them more efficient, they aren't adopting automation because of the cost of the hardware and because of the integration services.
Great, appreciated that. Thank you.
All right, last question. Steven, you're up.
Hey, thank you for your presentation. Steve Potter. I'm with, excuse me, Pratt Miller, which is a division of Oshkosh Defense. I'm interested, do you have a mobility platform that your humanoid will be operating on, and then my second question is, are you doing the mechatronics yourself, or do you have a supplier for that? And then the third question is, do you have systems in place to operate within the DoD structure related to ITAR and all of the requirements to sell to the DoD?
So we are very interested in working with DoD and closely working and figuring out how do we make our solution work for those scenarios. It's a very modular system, so like we can use a automatic vehicle that is already existing in the market, or DoD has a preference, or they might be interested in using, and we bring the software to autonomously guide that and get the work done. We can put a torso on top of the existing vehicle and with the camera and the system, so it can guide the vehicle and go wherever. The vehicle that we have developed now, it's more suitable for indoors environment, but we are, like I said, that we can work with, we've made it work with other AMRs solutions, other industrial arms, and we can make it work with any existing hardware that's out there in the market.
Thank you.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much, Joshua. Definitely leave your contact information in the chat. And that's all the time we have for that presentation, but we definitely appreciate it. That was really good.
Thanks.
All right, next up, we have Compute AI, and I believe Joel is going to be presenting for Compute AI. Joel, the floor is yours when you're ready.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having us. Can you see my screen?
Yep, we can see it, and I can see the pointer, which is cool.
Okay, awesome. All right, well, thank you. So we are Compute for AI-driven analytics. That is what our company does, and I'll get into that more in detail in the presentation. The company was founded by Vikram Joshi a couple years ago, and Vikram was the lead engineer on Oracle's Exadata product back in the day, worked with Andy Bechtolsheim at Sun Microsystems and Silicon Graphics, and this is now his fourth startup as an entrepreneur. And what he wanted to do with this company was really do something game-changing for the future of analytics and AI combined. And that's what he's come up with as a product. He's baked it with early customers. We've tested it in the market. So this is sort of a beyond an MVP stage product. And that's where we are today. The mission is to unlock the full power, I'm reading here, of billions of underutilized processors for AI-driven applications. And how we do this is to provide unlimited concurrency, and we're seeing a 10x performance and a 5x cost reduction for complex compute. Complex compute is what runs analytics and also what AI analytics is going to be driving in the future. So there's a huge pain point now, but the pain point is only going to increase by 1,000 times in the future. And just to underscore, what we're seeing, 10x performance and 5x cost reduction at the same time, that's a 50x improvement over what's currently available on the market in price performance. So this is not a small thing. This is changing the future of compute as we see it. The problem today is that legacy infrastructure is inefficient. We're seeing 30% CPU utilization, or 7 in every 10 CPU cores are idle. They're just not being used at all. They're stalling out. We're seeing massive memory over provisioning. People are purchasing and integrating into their in-memory systems between 10 and 100 times more memory than is actually needed to run the analytics. We have data processing that could be on the low end about 10x more efficient than it is in both dollars and energy, so watts dissipated. And we're seeing data processing, including AI/ML, on GPUs. It's increasingly being demanded for edge devices. So we know this is the autonomous system showcase. There's an application for the edge. There's also an application for the cloud. This is not pigeonholed into one or the other area. Really, this problem of CPU underutilization is everywhere. So what we've built is a next generation compute platform for edge and cloud applications, which dramatically increases efficiency and performance. We do this by using 80% fewer resources required. And one of the keys here is not over provisioning memory, as I mentioned before. If you're using the right amount of memory for the analytics, turns out you get to dramatically reduce the infrastructure footprint and the cost. We provide unlimited concurrency, which is at a minimum 10x faster than leading solutions. So concurrency is the relationship between performance and scale. As you scale out your users or your queries and business intelligence, you need more and more concurrency. And that's where today's systems start to drop off in terms of their performance. We are seeing steady performance with unlimited concurrency. You can scale from a single server to thousands of servers to hundreds of thousands of queries with minimal reduction in performance. We're solving open source challenges. So today's solutions on the open source market are promising in terms of creating data lakes and things like that, but they lack reliability. They lack ease of use, and the cost of human capital is fairly high. So oftentimes we're seeing companies trying to use open source, they have to hire a team of DevOps, or they have to hire a team of engineers, or they have to hire both. And our solution doesn't require that. And lastly, we have seamless integration and compatibility with existing analytics environments. The core behind our technology is really reimagining in-memory database architecture in order to fully utilize all the elements of the memory hierarchy. And we've done that using AI/ML algorithms to do vertical memory management. That means that if you need 1 gigabyte of memory 99% of the time, but if you need a terabyte of memory 1% of the time, our algorithm is able to read that in real time, just in time, and apply the workload to the appropriate elements within the vertical memory stack. As a result, we're able to run CPUs at 100% utilization all of the time, and we're able to do that on a dramatically reduced memory footprint, also leveraging SSDs or spill to disk. This is patented, so we have 2 patents and 2 patents pending, so 4 in total. But the real competitive advantage that we have and the competitive moat that we have is Vikram himself. This is something that only a handful of people in the world would be able to do, to rewrite database architecture from scratch. So what are the benefits? In cloud environments, in big analytics environments, we're seeing 10x performance, unlimited concurrency, and 1/5 the infrastructure. In edge environments, we're seeing high performance compute, so we can bring analytics to the edge in a way that hasn't been done before, because we have that very small memory footprint that we require. We're also seeing 80% fewer watts dissipated. So the infra reduction is giving us energy savings for edge applications like self-driving cars and anything out in the field that are far above and beyond what anything is capable of today. So why now? I mean, it might seem obvious to you why now by the time I've come to this slide, but this problem of inefficient analytics is only getting worse by the day. So AI generated SQL is driving 1000x more demand for this complex compute. And we're seeing it coming, today it's here, but it's going to be driven wholly more in the next couple of years. So AI-powered business intelligence is one example. As you infuse AI into your Tableau or your Power BI solutions, that is generating machine-generated SQL on the back end, which is complex compute. So it's just kind of spitting it out on the back end, and it needs infrastructure to support it. Low-code and no-code application development is another area of AI-generated SQL, and then finally, autonomous semantic layer generation. And if you don't know what that means, ask me later and I'll tell you, but creating a semantic layer to basically connect your data silos within any organization is necessary to drive business intelligence, decision intelligence, and that's going to be automated in the future. We're starting to see that today.
30-second warning.
The DoD, this is just a quote straight from the Fog and Edge organization, but the DoD needs transformational compute technologies for onboard analytics to limit communications latency and costs, increase situational awareness, and provide energy efficient compute. I think this quote was made tailor-made just for our company because it's exactly where we fit. Here's an example of what the product can do in case study number 1, working with one of our early adopters. We were able to run 9 times faster with 4 users versus the existing Spark implementation, and we did it on 1/5 of the infrastructure cost. The reason why you don't see that bigger curve up here going to 6 users is because they were using an open source solution, and we couldn't actually get that to go to 6 users. So this is the concurrency example. It just failed. And that's what happens a lot of times in these environments. As you add concurrency, the jobs just start to fail.
We should start wrapping up soon, Joe.
Okay, I'll skip the last case study. Roadmap and milestones. So we were founded about 2 years ago. We just raised an inside round, and we are raising seed capital right now to complete our product market fit. We're going through some iterations. We have a very low cash burn and 6 employees and 300,000 in early revenue. And that's all I have.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Joel. All right, Casey, then Samara, and then as more questions come up, we'll get to them. And then Han, go for it, Casey.
Excellent. Really appreciate the presentation, Joel. Just very curious about the maybe how you're targeting or going to market with certain customers. Are there ideal segments that you're looking for to get into now? And then what would that split look like between, say, the private and public markets in terms of the sales cycles?
Sure. So the sales cycle is long for this, but the good news is that we slip into environments incredibly easily. We're non-disruptive to any sort of architecture infrastructure is there. The first use case is, so Snowflake is the 800-pound gorilla in the data analytics market. And we have a very easy way to deploy within 15 minutes or less into any cloud environment and run right alongside Snowflake. And the beauty of that is you can offload your transformations. So your ELT process, that's what consumes the most complex compute. And when you offload it to us, you can cut your bill in half or more. So Snowflake, the average customer in the Fortune 2000, we're targeting large customers, spends $1.5 million every year. And we can take that down to $750,000 immediately. So that's exactly who we're targeting. We have several customers in the funnel, in the pipeline, in various levels of discussions, POCs, demos, things like that. And we also have our early customers that have adopted and have tested the solution. Mix between private, public. We're kind of going where the market leads us. And the implementation for Edge needs a strategic sponsor to bring us into the Edge. We've had it running on a Raspberry Pi before, so we've proven it out. But we don't have any partners or customers bringing us in that direction currently.
Perfect, thanks. What are you raising quickly? Just so that I know, I think I missed that.
We're raising $2 million right now in the completion of the seed. So we have a total of $3 million in the company, and completing the seed round will bring us to 5 total.
Perfect, thank you.
Perfect. Samara, you're up.
Yeah, thank you so much for your presentation. I really appreciate it. I'm actually very interested in what you guys are doing. So it sounds extremely interesting. So a little bit more on the go-to-market strategy, because you answered already some of those questions. So your ideal customer was clear to me. So you do not have any kind of channel or indirect go-to-market plan?
No, I'm sorry that I didn't answer the question on go-to-market clearly. I apologize. So we have a direct selling motion that's working very well for the Fortune 2000 companies. I'm working with an advisor who is actually named the top sales guy in Utah, where I live, who's looking to come on board and drive that direct process. But we are also in conversations with several indirect partners who really want to sell us. So one of them is a federal VAR on the government side who looked at this and he says, this is something absolutely the government need. We want to sponsor you. We want to work with you and bring you into the federal space, which is great for me because I don't have a ton of experience selling to the government, but they do, so they're going to take us directly into the government. And then there are several other resellers and strategic customers who are interested in working with us. So we're in conversations with big name companies such as VMware, and this is something that Intel would be interested in, NVIDIA would be interested in.
Totally.
So we're at those just very beginning stages of starting to have those conversations.
Okay. Do you have those relationships with Intel or at a high? That anyway, I'm happy to connect with you, Joel. If
we have a lot of relationships, but I would never say no to an offer, so appreciate it.
Yeah.
Perfect. Han, you're up.
Yes, Han Ko and USACO Group. We're a venture capital company, and we're based out of USA, but we have I have an office in Seoul, South Korea. So I know your a great presentation, and your solution is actually very impressive. I know your case study. I remember you said you can now have a statistic that can run 9 times faster at 20% infrastructure cost. Right, that's great. Actually, it's a great achievement. Congratulations. I was going to touch base with your possible relationship in the industry, but I think Samir already touched base on that one. So in case you need more possible introduction down the road in Asian market, please let me know. And then I know you're not going to say no, right? Because you just mentioned that, right?
Yeah.
And then also, what is your status with the IP protection? Do you your patent filings and stuff, or in global, or?
We have 2 patents that have been issued currently. We have 2 patents that are pending, and we envision this to be eventually a 10 to 20 patent portfolio. We've hired one of the best patent attorneys on the planet, represented Silicon Valley firms in the past, so we have a good relationship there, and he's continuing to work on the patent portfolio.
Got it. And what do you have? You file BCT or patent covering other markets other than USA?
Can
I'm going to ask Vikram to answer that one because Vikram is on the call with us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so these patents are global. I think they cover Europe, Asia Pacific. I can always get back on the specifics. Yeah, but these filings are domestic and also covered globally. The first 2 patents which have been issued, the other 2 are still in the process.
Gotcha. Okay, great. Good work. Thank you.
Yeah, we hired the #1 patent attorney who was the leading patent attorney at Oracle, where I used to work, considered the person behind databases, and which is the reason why we had very fast traction in getting this IP issued to us in such a short order.
Thanks.
Perfect. Cassandra, you have a question? Go for it. And this is the last
I'll
question.
go really fast. Thank you.
Sure.
My question was where this tech sits in relation to post-von Neumann architecture. Some examples that come to mind being photonic and optical, or neuromorphic, for example. Just curious about that.
Brilliant and intriguing. I'd let you down by saying that we are brick and mortar, CPU, memory architectures, and utilizing, so not looking at bio, photon, none of those things. It's feet on the ground. It's today's Intel, ARM, NVIDIA processors. What we really are doing, the most watts dissipated are through memory. So DRAM's keeping the RAS-CAS cycles out there, you dissipate the most watts. So we went after memory. How do you save on memory? You save on memory by looking at the data footprint and doing demand paging between memory and different tiers of memory, which are local. Even Intel has issued a new standard called CXL, where you can get large amounts of memory, but doing that has been very challenging. So we have thrown AI, ML algorithms. What's different is none of your traditional textbook algorithms work in this space, and we are able to condense the memory footprint, and we are also able to increase the performance as the complexity of the SQL and the queries and the data sets start to increase. That's what we're able to determine here. So I'm not sure if I answered your question, but I'll just keep it super short, another 10 seconds. So the amount of memory is also how cloud costs of servers, as maybe preaching to the choir here, It's a function, direct function of not the cores, it's a function of memory. So going after memory, it reduces the infrastructure cost. And if you can reduce the amount of memory for all the love that we've had for in-memory architectures for the last decade or so in analytics and databases, then there is something which is different. We believe this is fundamentally going to change the game. So very early there, testing it out.
Perfect. Perfect. All right. That's all the time we have. Thank you so much, Vikram and Joel. Really great presentation, and leave your contact information in the chat. I think there's some folks that definitely had questions, so I think there might be more follow-on. Next up, we have Runwise, and feel free. The floor is yours whenever you're ready to go, Jeff.
All right, great. Can you hear me? All good?
Loud and clear.
Awesome. Screen here. Just give me 1 second. Okay, thanks all for having me. My name is Jeff Carlton, CEO and co-founder of Runwise. What does Runwise do? We make buildings, obviously I'll go into it, we make buildings more sustainable, more energy efficient to create more sustainable cities and healthy cities. So I'll get into it right away. What is the problem that we're solving? The vast majority of buildings run on technology from the 60s. So what does that mean in a practical sense? I was a property manager in New York City for many years, and I would walk into properties and be blown away by how much heat was running through buildings in the middle of the winter. And whenever familiar with that problem, that's lived in a Northeast city, you walk in and most buildings are just completely overheated. And I can never really figure out why that was. So I went down to the boiler room and I realized that essentially most buildings are running off completely antiquated technology. So we keep setting these ambitious climate goals, yet we keep running buildings with almost no technology whatsoever. And at this point, it's pretty much proven that you can't run buildings manually anymore. They don't run efficiently and people are uncomfortable. 28% of the carbon emissions in the United States comes from actual building operations. So this is not like a small piece of the climate puzzle. It's actually a really large and significant one. So what does Runwise do? On the left is what controls most properties' heating, and whether it's heating or cooling or whatever type of energy system is operating buildings, the vast majority are controlled by technology that looks like this. Manual dials, typically created in the 70s and 80s. Newer controls might be digital, but the concept is the same. They're not online. No one is actually paying attention to it. And for that reason, buildings simply run inefficiently. What does Runwise do? We install a very basic online control. We put in indoor wireless temperature sensors that essentially speak to this control that is controlling whatever type of building system you have. And that building system doesn't run when people aren't there or when units are comfortable. When I have 10 seconds to explain this to someone, I say, is everyone familiar with the concept of a thermostat? Yes, right? You set a temperature and your system in your individual room turns on and off. We build that for buildings to make a meaningful impact in reducing their energy consumption. So what does that typically look like? In the average building that we work in, we can reduce the fossil fuel consumption by typically 21%. So we have a meaningful, real impact in buildings. An installation of our hardware and software package takes roughly 4 hours in a normal size building. So we're able to get into buildings quickly, reduce their fuel consumption. Based on all the energy that we've saved so far, we've done the equivalent of taking 70,000 cars off the road. System is rolled out in nearly 6,000 buildings. We actually just completed a pilot with the MTA, Long Island Railroad, all the large municipalities in New York City, including the Port Authority, and we're showing an average of 32% savings when replacing controls that were installed in these type of properties, which were extremely inefficient. But we're really just getting started. There's probably 12 million buildings in the United States that are an ideal target for a Runwise setup. So we believe there are 12 more at minimum just in the US buildings where there is no actual central control and buildings are running efficiently. And that's basically our addressable market. There are other control companies. There's a bunch of environmental technology out there. What is our secret sauce? we've gone through the pain of building our own custom hardware. So our costs are a lot lower to deploy this technology, and we can install it significantly faster than most people that turn it into very expensive multi-day projects. I think when you look at the climate problem, when you look at climate problems, most people ignore the giant scale of making buildings and cities run efficiently. So we've designed it in a way that we could deploy thousands of these very, very quickly. Every install we do runs the building via software rather than manual intervention by somebody who happens to be in the boiler room and pay attention to it. And then we show our results live in real time. So we're putting in a piece of hardware, we're backing it up with incredible software, and then the owners of these properties or operators can see how much energy they're saving in real time. We started our business because I was a property manager in heating. We've since launched this same concept for water, meaning that if it is monitored and controlled, you can save a lot of money. We actually have a leak detection system that tracks any running water fixture in a building and alerts you in real time. We're doing electric monitoring, cooling, electrification, using the same sort of concept in the upcoming years. What we are really excited about are all of the policy tailwinds. It's starting in New York City, Boston, and Washington, D.C., but letter grades in New York City, there's Local Law 97, the Climate Mobilization Act, there's tons of state requirements. This is really going nationwide. And reducing your energy consumption at a building level is how you comply with these regulations. So we feel like we are a unique hardware software platform to help buildings hit their energy efficiency goals. These are some of the logos that we work with. We work with the largest owners in New York City, in the really anywhere in the Northeast. This is related, one of the largest building operator owners in the world. And you know, yes, we do save the money, but they also use the Runwise platform to make sure that all their tenants are comfortable. You know, these are something that I can share. We've had, you know, a good amount of coverage as well. But that is my 5-minute pitch. I mean, you know, in summary, technology to make buildings run efficiently is what we do, and our goal is to reduce energy consumption in any building that we touch.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much, Jeff. All right, Tao first, then Dan, then Cassandra. Go right ahead.
Great. Thanks so much, Jeff. Super interesting. Before I was at BMW Ventures, I was working in real estate, first in investment and then in real estate tech. So this is very familiar with topic familiar with. My main question is around implementation and maintenance. So who does the implementation process and what does that look like? And then do you also own the maintenance process in-house or do you outsource that out?
Sure. So as far as the implementation, how is it like installed? How do we get it installed? So we try and own this entire process as much as possible. So we literally design the hardware, we've designed the entire tech stack, and we have our own installers. But we will outsource, for example, if somebody has a preferred vendor, we have trained up multiple vendors in multiple cities to install our system. But every single installation we monitor. So we don't ever outsource the actual results. We will outsource some of the physical installations of the product. And then we have an entire app that makes sure that it's installed correctly by a third-party contractor before they leave. That building gets online, goes into our queue, they're assigned a customer support person, and then they're live on the platform.
Got it. And when there's a problem, will the customer call you first or the third party contractor?
We become the contact. Yeah, absolutely. We own the relationship. We just allow the third party to make some money. Our goal is the annual recurring fee. That's our business. So we don't mind giving the service work and the potential revenue on an install to a third party partner because we don't want them to feel like we're boxing them out. So they do what they do, and it transitions us to become more of a support and service platform. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Perfect. Dan, you're up.
Hi. So I have been investing in this space for the last 3 years, and one of the problems that we face, and you would understand this because you were a property manager yourself, is that when it comes from top down, from the chief sustainability officer, a lot of property managers do not say yes to these solutions because it doesn't change how their problems are being solved. So what is your process? Is it top down, bottom up, and how are you selling it? who is your normal entry point in an organization?
Sure. We'll always try to start at the top. However, as companies have gotten more advanced, like one of our largest customers is First Service Residential. They're a national real estate company. Some of these companies have their own directors of sustainability who are responsible for energy reduction. So as organizations mature, there's more people that we can reach out to and pitch this product. One of the things that we've done is we've tried to remove the barriers to entry. This has always been a big, expensive platform. $100,000 BMS system, right? It has to go through 3 or 4. We're trying to get in there quickly and inexpensively. That's why we've gone through the massive investment. And this is what I think others don't do. When you're talking about a Johnson, Siemens, Honeywell, has to go to 3 bids. It's a multi-month job. We've tried to reduce the scope of the hardware as much as possible to make it a no-brainer for a property owner. And then when you factor in the requirements, and this is something that has changed in the last couple of years, climate requirements, which are going nationwide, not just those cities. Hey, you have to reduce your energy consumption by next year or you're going to get a fine. That helps push it along. And then finally, the cost of fuel has helped because fuel is almost double what it cost 2 years ago. And then utility rebates will cover a lot of this cost. So those sort of tailwinds that frankly 2 years ago did not exist are helping push the urgency for property owners. So they're in a more proactive approach right now.
Thank you.
Perfect. Cassandra, last question.
Yes, thank you, Jeff, for your time. My questions are how long the company's been around, whether you're post-revenue, and what your asks are at this stage.
Sure. Well, on the revenue, what was the question? Sorry, it broke up.
Just if you're having revenues yet, and then what your asks are at this stage.
So the company, frankly, was a hobby and a side hustle for a long time when I was in real estate, with the permission of the owner that I worked for. And then in 2017, 2018, I realized we were saving so much money. We were kind of manually doing this. So we started really taking it seriously in 2019, did a seed round in 2020 and a Series A in 2022. So yeah, we are at nearly $8 million in annual recurring revenue right now, off of the buildings that we currently service. Asks for us are introductions to building operators. That is the main thing that helps us is introductions to people who operate properties. That's the main thing that helps us, because it helps us get our platform out there to more and more people.
Great, thank you. You said 8 million, right?
8 million in recurring, yes.
Okay, thank you. Fabulous.
Perfect. All right. Thank you so much, Jeff. That was a really great presentation. I think some people have some questions or connections alternatively. And so feel free to leave your contact information in the chat.
Sure. Thank you.
Perfect. All right. Next up, we have Birdstop. Feel free to start sharing your screen whenever you're ready.
Hi, this is Jatin Kolekar. Are you able to see my screen?
Yep, we see it.
Okay, so I'm representing Birdstop today. So what is Birdstop? Birdstop is mainly a physical world artificial intelligence company. I would start with what we do first and explain how we do that, and we'll give you some examples of how we are doing it currently for our clients. So what mainly Birdstop does is Birdstop collects and manages detailed data on your physical assets. So this could be different kinds of physical assets like telecom towers, different kind of infrastructure for like utilities company, or it could be like different cities that want to verify how their infrastructure construction and work is going on. And we do it using AI and drones. And one of the main things that we do is we do it without any personnel on site. And how we do that, before going into that, I would try to give like an analogy of how we work. So currently we have like many satellites orbiting around the Earth, and they keep on collecting data for like different places on Earth. And this is like an image that is collected by the satellites. So we try to do something similar where we try to provide like our own set of satellites, I would say, for different companies. And our satellites are mainly drones. And these drones, once deployed on your site, can go around and take images or like let you know what kind of chemical emissions that you're doing. So these drones provide different functions, and these can be deployed on your sites to collect like precise data. And one of the example of the precise data is like, this is like an image that you get from the satellite of the infrastructure, but with the drones, you can get like a very detailed look that can help you in understanding if something is wrong with your site. And then we get into like how we do it. So take an example, like this is the physical world. The first step that happens is we deploy our nodes. So these nodes acts as satellites. We can deploy them and we can cover like a very big area using that. Each node has like a 1 mile radius that they can cover using the drone. And using this, we can do like different multiple node deployments and start like, like collecting data for your physical assets. So this is like the first step, the nodes comes in. And the second step is like the airspace intelligence. So one of the things that I mentioned at the start is that we do not have any personnel on site. So this is all done remotely. So to do that remotely, we put in the node first with the drone, which does like the battery exchanges and powering on the drone. So that part gets automated. But there is also like the safety part, because these drones fly in the same airspaces, like similar to like airplanes and helicopters. And for that, we have this airspace intelligence for beyond visual line of sight flights. So you know how we have like airspace towers for like aircrafts. We similarly have like a beacon that goes in, and this beacon provides like a similar intelligence for our drone flights. And one operator can be sitting like anywhere in the world, and then he can control multiple flights of drones, in multiple fleets of drones using our technology. And these can just keep on collecting images for you. And to give like an insight into how the beacon works. So the beacon is like eyes and ears on the drone, eyes and ears on the ground. So we have like a camera array and a mic array that sits on this beacon that keep on looking and listening for the aircrafts nearby. And there is also like ADS-B receiver. So this is similar to how like website like Flight Radar work. So there is like a signal that is sent out by each aircraft that is in the air. So we try to receive that to create like this safety environment. And with this like 3 levels of safety, we are able to do like flights without somebody needing to be on the ground. And why we are doing this now, I think one of the biggest reasons for like deploying the drones now is the FAA support. So before, FAA was not like, flying drones without anybody looking at them. That is like a very big airspace risk. So the FAA was very concerned with this. And this is why we went first to the FAA instead of and tried to explain like how we would solve the problem. So the airspace intelligence was created by speaking with the FAA. And now Birdstop is like one of the forefront companies that is able to fly drones without anyone being on site. And we just last month, we received a waiver from the FAA that allows us to fly like throughout the whole country for like a specific type of client. So this is why like Birdstop is one of at the forefront, and we have been trying to take it even step further and further with the FAA. So, and not many companies are able to see this. And once we have like the node infrastructure, we have the beacon to provide the airspace intelligence. That is when the third layer comes in. The third layer is the AI engine of the physical world. So this is something that we have been developing in-house, this AI technology, and we have been trying to implement it for 3 different things. One is the live feed that comes from the drone in real time. The second is the data that is collected by the drone. And the third one is the safety intelligence that we use for the beacons. So this is like the AI level that we have built. That is used to process like all the physical world data that comes in. And one of the main advantages for doing it for physical infrastructure is like we are able to make help different types of clients in upkeep of this critical infrastructure. We are able to understand if there is some fault at a very earlier stage. This saves a lot of money for our clients, and also for like monitoring infrastructure. Currently, people have to go in there, which is like a huge safety risk. People have to climb on towers. Even if we had to like not difficult tasks. Say, for example, if you wanted to verify a highway, but it is still difficult to verify, how many potholes are there on a highway. It is not easy for a person to go in and actually do that manually. So this is where these are like different use cases, I would say, where we come in and we try to provide that help. And we have all used like ChatGPT until now, where we ask them question. But if you try to ask them like how many helicopters are there in Dallas airspace right now, or like how many potholes are there in a highway in San Francisco, you won't be able to answer that. But this is where we come in. Once we have deployed our nodes in like different parts of the cities, we can then start collecting these data. So when the drone goes out and does a flight, we can actually know what kind of we can actually go in and look for the exact issues that different clients are looking for. I have provided an example over here. This is like city of Dallas. They are one of our clients, and you can see like they are interested in knowing which roads have like the most potholes and what kind of development that to which road to focus on first. Or one more big issue that is usually faced by cities is like these cones that you see. These cones need to be displaced. Sometimes they are kept on the road that cause a lot of traffic and even accidents. Even one person died due to this cone. So it is like a huge safety risk and also like a huge traffic mess that it creates. So again, this is where we can come in and help. We can have like a node infrastructure deployed, and the drones can just go in and look at different kind of infrastructure depending upon when the client wants it.
30-second warning.
Yeah, and there are like different use cases, I would say, that we are currently focusing on: infrastructure monitoring, anomaly detection. So this would be like if there are any issues with a tower or like a specific electrical site, we can create AI to help find these issues. We also do like site security. Since the drones are based already there, they can actually go in and look in for different security concerns. We also do chemical emissions detection. So this could be like different kind of detection for oil and gas, or like chemical companies, garbage dumps where there is like a lot of emissions. We can actually go in and do that. And similarly, we can do photogrammetry surveys, which can create like a whole survey, like to understand how many potholes are there, for example. We are also backed by one of the biggest, I would say, US institutional and strategic investors. And we have just raised a round for us, like I would say 3 months ago. And this is the team that we are. So we all of us have like a background in drone infrastructure monitoring and remote sensing, and all of our intelligence combined has helped in creating this platform. Any questions? So I would say like one of the main things why we are doing this presentation is like to increase our deployments. So we currently have like multiple clients already throughout the United States, and we are looking to find more and more clients who would be interested in having this kind of a satellite network on their side. That should be all from my side. Thank you.
Perfect. All right, Tao first, and then Han.
Thank you so much for presentation. This is super interesting. My main question is about competitive landscape and the market here. On the competitive landscape, how do you view your solutions differentiated from the likes of very well-funded company like Skydio and Drone Deploy?
I would say we are different in two ways, I would say. One would be like the FAA support. We have been communicating very well with the FAA for like a really long time now. And due to this, we have created like a regulation. We have been advanced in like the regulation stage. This is why we have like got already waivers to fly without any personnel on site. And one more thing I would say is like, most of the other companies that are there in the drone field are concentrating on like first users or like enterprise clients and trying to sell those drones. We do not make drones. We do not want to sell drones. What we do is like we provide like a satellite kind of infrastructure where you provide us like a recurring fee. And for that, we provide you the infrastructure monitoring for you. So it's not like a drone selling that we are doing. We are not interested in making drone. We are like a drone agnostic company who has who uses like multiple different kinds of drones in our system. So we are, I would say, we do have like some use cases similar to them, but I would say like we are slightly different in this case.
Great, thank you.
All right, Han, you're up.
Yes, good presentation, and your solution is actually seems pretty impressive. Thank you. Just quick questions here. So obviously you have the all FAA compliance and blessing, right? And one question that I have for you is that you mentioned the earlier slide that your surveillance, I mean, what do you call it? I guess that surveillance is not the right word, but the surveillance scope area is about 1 mile per beacon. Is that correct? Because you mentioned that
1 mile per node that we deploy. Yeah.
Per node. Gotcha. Okay, got it. And so I'm just trying to understand the product and how it works in a little bit more elaborate manner. So, for example, how's your product is in use in the city of Dallas? And maybe yeah, can you give me an example of it?
Yeah. So we started like, as first part of the project, we started with 6 deployments. So we asked City of Dallas, like, what are the main infrastructure points that you would like to monitor? And there we deployed our nodes. And then depending upon that, like I can give you an example of like, there is like a new public transport line that is being deployed in Dallas right now. So that was, I would say, like the main focus for them. The main thing I would say they were interested in. So we deployed our node there and we did like constant monitoring, and we were able to give them like a detailed data of how far the construction is going every week. And similarly, this was just an example. There were also like different road constructions that were going on that they were interested in monitoring. So I would say as first phase, I would say we were mainly helping them in knowing how the infrastructure constructions or projects were progressing.
Okay, thank you.
One thing I would also like to add for this is like, since this node is actually placed over there, this can have also like multiple use cases. So we were deployed over there at like a tower site. So due to this, we were also able to monitor the towers with the same nodes. So these nodes can be like not only used by one client, but they could be like multi-client products.
More clients, right. All right, thank you.
All right, Dan, you're up.
Hi, this was a really well done presentation, and the 3-layer approach is wonderful. My quick question for you is this. For critical infrastructure, people usually have a lot of IoTs and sensors already deployed, right? And they also have a digital twin in the building. Are you trying to augment those models or trying to compete with those models? And if so, how are you planning to replace them?
Yeah, so I would say like most of the infrastructure monitoring, especially like twin models that you mentioned, twin models that you mentioned are actually created using drones. So this is where actually we come in as well. So we are not only able to collect these images for you. These towers, for example, or like this infrastructure are usually very remotely located. So even if a person has to go in there, it's a very huge task. So this is where like an advantage of nodes come in. No personnel has to go in actually over there once the node has been deployed. So this is, I would say, one advantage. And similarly, once we get those images, for example, I'm just taking the twin example, then we just provide it to the client and they can use any other like technology that they are already using. They can use it with that as well. The main idea is that we are going to do the collection, and we are also providing like different AI solutions for the clients. But if they want to use like a specific clients, they can use it along with us. Or if they want to use our solutions as well, they can use it them as well.
Thank you.
Perfect. All right, that's all the time we have. Thank you so much, Justin.
Thank you.
And feel free to leave your contact information in the chat. It seems like there were quite a few questions. Next up, presenting, we have Target Arm. Presenting from Target Arm, I believe, would be Jeff. Jeff, the floor is yours.
Okay, thanks, Asher. Just want to confirm that you can see my screen. Is that correct?
Yeah, sorry, I had trouble with the view button. Yes.
Okay, everybody good. Hello, everybody. I'll go very fast here to give us time to have a discussion, hopefully, and I've got a couple of videos I'm going to share. If you've seen us before, we've got even new information on this one, so stay tuned. What we have right now is that Target Arm has a device that does autonomous drone launch and recovery, and the key differentiator for us in the marketplace is we do it on the move. I'm a former F-15 combat fighter pilot and weapons school graduate, commander in the background as well, and I'm a Harvard National Security Fellow. The device that I'm going to be talking about is shown here in the center, and it has a very, very wide use case from on the ground to in the air and actually into space. So why and how are what we doing? So we have a device that's called TULAR, and TULAR, it enables you to launch, recover both rotary and fixed wing drones from any moving vehicle. We can do that autonomously, completely hands-free, no pilot required unless you want to use oversight or pilot on the loop. And it's a very unique capability because what's happened is that most people can't handle while you're moving at speeds. 5-10 miles an hour, fine, you can land vertically. But when you're up at 50, 60, 70, and even greater up in the 200-mile range, you have to come in horizontally and keep flying. So I'm going to share with you right now is a video of our recent capability. This is TULAR 3.5. We built it last week as the first unit of this series, and you'll see a dramatic change in how we've improved this if you have seen us before. So let me bring this up right now. You see the saying, it says, somebody just give a thumbs up, TULAR 3.5. That's good. Okay, good. Here we go. Fully autonomous launch. At this point, it would go off and do its own mission, and it comes back and rejoins with the vehicle. We're doing it for testing, obviously, to do it immediately right thereafter. Comes back in with extreme precision localization, holds its position, gets captured, then gets brought back down inside and stowed or changed out. In addition to this, it also actually works in high wind conditions. So this is an example of a stop position, probably the worst case in a windy condition, and the drone ends up launching. Again, goes off and does its mission, comes back to TULAR, goes back on in, and you'll see the localization capability of this. We have it within 1 millimeter of accuracy when it comes back in to hold that position. Our pins close around it from both sides, and we grab it and bring it back down inside. So this was done this week. That's the first outdoor testing we've had with it. It's brand new. And we're pretty freaking excited about it, actually, because it's an awesome capability. But the idea here is that we're drone agnostic, much as BirdStop just said before. We're designed to work with anything that flies, and we can scale up our sizes. So the one on the left-hand side is designed by Hyundai Motor Group for a proof of concept that we did for them. It's 2 feet wide, and the one on the right is 5 feet wide, and that's for the U.S. Air Force for convoy protection. Okay, make sure you guys can see the slides again. As I'm flipping, somebody just give me a thumbs up. It'll be good. Okay, great, yep. Thanks. Okay, I want to share with my vision. My vision is that there's an unattached part of the marketplace today, which is drones while you're in motion. And the entire world is in motion. And pick a number. I can't get an exact number. 10%, 20%, 30% of the Earth is moving at any one time in some mode of transportation. And our ability to connect to those physically hasn't matched our ability to connect with them digitally. And what we're doing is connecting those. So the TULAR network that we're going to be able to develop is the ability to connect each of them to and from each other and to each of us, both residential and business-wise. I show right here that these are areas that we've already got R&D contracts in the green. You can see we got one in the air, we got one in space, we got one on the ground, in this case, an automotive company. And we've also got contacts going on with a package delivery company. We're getting ready. We were approached by the Navy to put it onto a maritime environment. That's why it's in yellow as well. So we're starting to spread on out and see that it works in all locations and capabilities. That's because it's battery operated, drone agnostic, and it just takes a trickle charge to move forward. Because of that, we have many dual use cases that we can apply both military and commercially, from on the water to wind farms to first responders. You saw the ATV there. You can airdrop from a cargo aircraft. And if we have time, I'll show you what the cargo aircraft looks like. In fact, I'll just do it right now, just so you get a concept of what it looks like at speed. But the biggie in here is package delivery. It's a massive market. I'll talk about it as part of the TAM here in just a moment. But I'll show you just a quick video here of the Arsenal aircraft. It's a fairly short one. We're under contract right now to start building for the U.S. Air Force on the C-17 aircraft. This use case highlights TULAR with a roll-on, roll-off feeder mechanism for very high cycle rates on board a C-17 Arsenal aircraft. With America's asymmetric competitive advantage of air mobility, and then paired with various unmanned combat air vehicles, the U.S. Air Force can provide agile combat employment with persistent air dominance anywhere on the globe. Okay, so that's a DoD solution, and I want to share it with you because it doesn't matter what direction TULAR works in this case down, which was actually the original design and the original patent that I applied for, but it also works up and works sideways. It doesn't really matter. It can capture a drone, and we can scale it in size by adding pins. Larger or smaller numbers of pins gives us a larger capability as we move through time. Total addressable market, I've got 2 of them here for you. In the military, it's a $5 billion just on the ground vehicles. We're not even talking Navy in this case, nor the Air Force for flying. This is just on ground vehicles. and it's a $17 billion TAM that I computed out for the package delivery market. That has actually gone up because Amazon's growing faster than I anticipated in the model. So this is actually a great capability. It's a big frickin' market because no one else is in this space about trying to connect all of these different nodes physically. When you look at it from a competing technology perspective, everybody is dealing with on the two quadrants at lower speeds, 5-10 miles an hour or stopped. And they've got a proprietary drone. You heard about that with BirdStop just a moment ago. Lots of other companies are out there doing a proprietary solution. We are drone agnostic. And so we own the upper right quadrant of this chart. And we've got strategic agreements. We just signed last week, SICK drone, another high-speed drone to do convoy protection at 100 miles per hour, that drone will go. So we're continuing to evolve, we're continuing to lock in the marketplace as we move forward. Many barriers to entry. The key component to it is it's very difficult. And I'm an aeronautical engineer as well. It's very difficult to land on something, recover to something at speeds over 10, 20 miles an hour, and gets really, really hard up at 150 to 200 and greater. We've got 3 patents issued, both in the air and on the water and or underwater, actually, and in space. I already mentioned the sensor fusion engine, which gives us that extreme precision localization. That allows us to change what sensors are on board anytime, plug and play capability. And I've talked about the rest of those as well. We've got deep industry experience. We own these kinds of capabilities within our staff. I'm showing them to you right now, from an aeronautical all the way down to a sales and business development. Our roadmap was designed around who's coming to market first. The DoD was there first, and we've been getting R&D contracts with them. Oil and gas is starting to come online. First responders are definitely coming online now, and they're starting to talk about we need to be able to do it while we're moving. We've had a contract in space because in space there's all kinds of debris that needs to be removed, as well as satellite exploitation. Package delivery is going right now. We're in discussions with a package delivery company. Hope to have something in the next month or two to announce publicly that we've got something moving in that space as well. And obviously we've got our designs to go with that. And we've got our capital raise that we've got in the past as well. So Tular, the one that we showed you right there on the back of that RZR, gives you multiple solutions. And these are just a sample of some of those solutions that we have there, from police and fire, package delivery. And a big effort in the DoD is autonomous vehicles, as you can see in the Ukraine. How do you actually engage those with UAVs? So you have a ground vehicle autonomous that has a airborne autonomous capability, and we enable that speed. We've had significant traction across the DoD with 7 SBIR and STTR awards. Just submitted 2 again yesterday. We've had contracts with BAE Systems. I mentioned Hyundai with a proof of concept that we developed for them in November of last year. And we've worked with Verizon as well. And we've had various relationships from Techstars on down, and we're tied into Mass Robotics. If you want to see Tular operating, we're going to be at Mass Robotics this weekend on Saturday at the Robo Boston Affair out in South Boston. And on the 9th, 10th, and 11th, we're going to be in Washington, D.C. at the Army USA, the United States Army Association display as well. This gives you a scale size of the Tular that we're looking at right here. When you take a look at Ryan, he's my co-founder and lead engineer. It's a small unit, and we can scale it up from any size that we go forward. We're looking for a $2 million investment right now. It's totally after hiring additional engineers. We're going to a job fair tomorrow in Boston to try and get more people on board, and sales. The market is coming to us now. People are asking for us. They're asking for our sensor fusion. They're asking for our capability to do it while you're on the move. And we're expecting the sales to start picking up near the end of this year. And we'll end up doing a Series A immediately thereafter, probably of $5 or $10 million expected in early 2024. So that's who we are. That's who I am. And I'm open to any questions and hopefully give you the answers that you need.
Perfect. Han first, then Daniel.
Hi, how are you? Hey, Jeff.
Good,
Jeffrey, how are you doing? Good to talk to you again here. Seems like
likewise.
you made some, seems like you made some more progress since then. That'd be great. And again, thank you for your service. Anyway, I was going to ask, you already mentioned that. That's good. And I just got a small couple of questions since I already kind of know your company here. But I guess your ITAR is already cleared, right? Because especially you're funded by Hyundai at the beginning, right? Correct?
Our earlier version, we applied for a commerce jurisdiction, and we're EAR 99. We're not even an ITAR.
Oh, you're not. Okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
So we're sitting with it's basically anything machining going overseas.
Gotcha. So what is the status of your product and sales?
Yeah,
right
so
now?
so this is our first commercial product. We have not made any sales. This is unit number 1. We made it last week. We're going to make 2 more as part of a machining and processing to scale it up. But I'm ready to sell unit number 4. And I'm going to start selling that at the conference in early October to the DoD. But I'm ready to sell this right now going forward. Everything prior to that has been about a little less than $2 million in outside investment with 3 VCs and 6 angels. And we've had about $3.5 million in R&D contracts that have subsidized us.
Gotcha. And then just last question here. So you mentioned that you already have an application and patent filed for underwater too.
Already issued.
Oh, issued. Oh, okay, great. Okay, well, congratulations. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Great. Thanks.
All right, Daniel, you're up.
Hey, Jeff. Dan Redmond, Defense Innovation Unit. 2 questions for you. One, you said that they've got 7 SBIRs already. Have any of those gone forward with like production or follow-on contracts? And then the other question related to your undersea is, what's that roadmap look like to get the undersea capability going?
Yeah. Okay. So we have we've worked with you guys as well at we were just down there at Vertex a couple months ago with a panel with one of your guys as well. The concepts that we have right now, and I got to remember your first question. It was about SBIRs, right? Want to make sure I get it right. Can you rephrase?
Yeah. Has anything happened after those SBIRs?
Yeah.
We one and done.
These were all developmental SBIRs at this stage. This has been it's a hardware solution with a software solution. It's not a trivial task to do this while you're moving from a reference frame perspective, and we've solved it. Very, very accurate, like we've talked about. No phase 3s or follow-on OTAs or purchases, but I'm planning on putting those up for an IDIQ available for people in the next couple of months. So sales are imminent, and it's the reason for it is, Dan, is that we've been ahead of the market. The market has been trying to say, can we get autonomy to work, right? Can we actually fly drones around? And that's starting to be relaxed by the FAA. But more importantly is that they said, well, we're not really even thinking about moving yet because we haven't even solved the other problems that we had in front of us. Those are being solved. The UTM for the airspace is happening right now. The unmanned traffic management, all of those are falling into place. And that market is starting to come to us. They're starting to ask those questions. Well, can I do it while I'm moving in a tank? And I go, yes, you can. You don't have to stop and get out to get shot. The second question, underwater, we have not done anything underwater to date. It's a different hydrodynamic pressure issue. It's a saline solution issue. It's going to require a deeper engineering capability, but the concept works the same. You could actually be, you could have a submarine underway at 12 knots, launch a drone, continue at 12 knots, and recover it on the outer hull. So I plan on doing that, but that's going to require much more money. The Navy approached us about 3 weeks ago at our Tide event in DC in force. I mean, they came at me in force because they want to go after actually the surface vessels. So they're looking at USVs, unmanned surface vessels. They want to put this on to give them the airborne capability to launch and recover.
Outstanding. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, Dan.
All right, perfect. Next question, Steven, you're up.
Hey, good afternoon. I'm Steve Potter with Oshkosh Defense subsidiary called Pratt Miller. We build one of the Army's robotic combat vehicles. I saw you at Vertex, didn't get a chance to talk to you, but interested in talking to you about putting this on one of our UGVs. And I can connect with you for AUSA if you'll be there, like you mentioned.
Yeah, I will be there. Happy to connect. And, I was at the RCV conference for the industry day as well. I'm not sure if you were there, but we are actually putting it on an autonomous vehicle. We're putting it in, it's a competitor here, so it's Rheinmetall. We're going to be on their Mission Master on a static display at booth 1603. If you want to come by, I can set up an appointment with you. Happy to do so. I can come by and see your stuff. It will work on anything that moves. So if you are in the RCV world, it's a modular mission payload. It is available. This one right here is designed to go on to any RCV.
What are the dimensions of it?
This is essentially 30. We can see by Ryan standing there on the left, 30 inches by 30 inches planform, and it's 27 inches high.
Thank you.
And I have a data sheet, Stephen. I've got a data sheet I can forward to you. If you just pop in and tell me what email you want, I'll just send you the data sheet on it. Again, we're ready to start selling this and testing.
Awesome, thank you.
Perfect. All right, Jeff, that's the time we have, but leave your contact information in the chat. Looks like it'd be good to do so. All right, last presentation. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Last presentation of the day is Luftkar. Luftkar, the floor is yours. Go right ahead whenever you're ready. taking some time. Yeah, Sept, you should be able to get control. Let me just make sure that we classified you correctly. Sorry, guys, we're having some technical. Sept, are you good now?
Good afternoon, everybody. Well, we saw Arsenic trying to deliver a drone from a vehicle. We are delivering a vehicle from a drone. So we are the other way. So lift car is a combination of air and road vehicle. The inspiration is from Scaramanga, the James Bond villain from Man with the Golden Gun. So we are airlifting a road vehicle like how the pitcher holds a baseball or how an eagle carries a prey. And the concept has been verified with FAA, with NASA. Theoretically, it works. And right now we are building a prototype in a hangar here in Miami, Florida. So we are trying to address the last mile door-to-door delivery solution, because in reality, all the drones or all the eVTOL vehicles right now do not offer the last mile final destination solution, because you still need to rely on another vehicle. In case of defense, you have to have this logistics connector that can reduce efficiencies and take goods to the final destination, take troops, take medicines to the troops on site, to the troops in the front line, and then also do air ambulance services, disaster relief services, and also take your own personal vehicle from one city to another city where you can still drive your own personal vehicle in the urban environment. So we are a vehicle concept that does not require the change and that does not require tear down of existing infrastructure. We feed into existing infrastructure. We reutilize the regional airports, and for that very basic concept, our business is very well liked by cities like Miami and LA that are having a lot of regional airports. And today, right now, I'm in Virginia in a regional airport, signing a contract with them. I want to quickly play a video, and as the video plays, I'll explain to you the concept of lift car. So lift car is an inspiration from the V-22 Osprey. It is a streamlined aerodynamic design. It's a 6-propeller aircraft with the tilt propeller technology license from NASA. And the vehicle will be lightweight. It will still have a battery platform. It will have wheels, suspension, but much lighter than a conventional road vehicle. The docking mechanism is a 5-point sensor automated version, a top hold and a bottom hold that enables the vehicle to slide in and slide out. So that's an innovation that is very unique. That puts us in a different league up from Airbus and from Terrafugia. These are companies that have tried this concept before and still have their own variations out there in design. When it comes to automation, we have the lift car autonomous navigation system, which has distance perception of up to 4 kilometers, 3 to 4 kilometers, and the depth perception of up to 10,000 feet, because we will typically fly at an altitude of 4,000 to 5,000 feet in the D space. We are also using hydrogen propulsion. The hydrogen fuel cell propulsion is what enables these vehicles to carry heavy payloads through longer distances. So we are targeting payloads of 1,500 pounds and distances of up to 300 to 500 miles, which is the city-to-city connection. So because of this hydrogen concept, we are getting a lot of traction. We are one of the finalists in the Northeast Hydrogen Hub project, and we are in line for getting some funding, which I cannot announce yet. The official announcement will be coming in a week or so. So we are in a good position. And because of the concept we developed in the infrastructure, we are being attracted by many different airports, and we are signing contracts in the United States and also in Europe. When it comes to the funding part of it, we started a company 2.5 years ago, and we have raised 1.5 million in cash and kind. The autonomy is coming from Elbit Systems America for $1 million worth. We also have autonomous software package MOUs with a Spanish company and with a Swedish company. And we also recently received a term sheet of up to $100 million for our Series A funding. So the Series A funding is guaranteed, but we are trying to close the seed round and complete our prototype building. Our first prototype will be a two-seater vehicle, and I'll show that to you in a bit here. So it'll be a two-seater vehicle powered by off-the-shelf made hydrogen propulsion from Bosch Aviation, who's our partner. And our second prototype will be a 4-seater vehicle, 4 to 5-seater vehicle which would be something that we would give to FAA for certification. We have been in regular conversations with FAA and NASA, and they're very closely following our progress. There is also a lot of great interest from China in acquiring our technology. In fact, yesterday we had a joint venture conversation, but I cannot form a partnership with China because we have already signed an agreement with DOE that we would work exclusively with the United States DOD and DOE as such. In terms of the financial opportunities, we are projecting a $17 billion to $20 billion revenue for the vehicle alone. With the hydrogen infrastructure, that's another $30 billion globally by 2035. So this is a great 20x ROI, at least for the vehicle side. We are also collaborating on the hydrogen engine, which we can sell to other eVTOL companies. In terms of the markets projection, cargo would be our first market. Defense would be a parallel market that we will pursue because there is a lot of interest from Air Force, Navy, and Army. In fact, Air Force has invited me to talk about this concept in next week's AUVSI show. And then regional transportation will be something that will come through as FAA matures on the certification process. So that's where we are. And I will stop here. In terms of fundraising really quickly, like I said, we already have a $10 million, $100 million Series A term sheet. We are trying to close out on the $10 million funding. So anything that we can raise towards the $10 million funding will help us complete our prototype. And I'll stop here, and then we will open up for questions. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sam. All right. I know it's the last presentation, so it might be some of the panel might be a little bit it's been a lot of presentations, but let's open it up, see if we get a few. Otherwise, I have a few. Dan, go ahead.
Yeah, I think this was one of the most interesting presentations here. You're clearly building the future. I saw something really interesting on your deck, that you have a partnership with UConn. What kind of partnerships are you exploring with educational institutions there?
Yeah, that's a great question, because with UConn, we are doing two things, and we are replicating that with several other universities now. With UConn, we are working on the airframe optimization simulation analysis, but more importantly, we are creating a curriculum around hydrogen safety, hydrogen handling, and then creating a degree program around hydrogen, so that 4 years from now, when students come out of the university, they'll be ready to work in our company. We are particularly targeting disadvantaged communities like Bridgeport, Hartford, Connecticut, where there really no new jobs have come in the several decades in the past, and now we are using hydrogen as an opportunity to create jobs in those communities.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Perfect. Steven, you're up.
Just so I understand, your system is operating off of a hydrogen powered engine or a hydrogen fuel cell technology?
It's primarily hydrogen fuel cell and battery hybrid system. Hydrogen fuel cell for cruise and battery for the vertical thrust. Now, our second option is, instead of the battery, we might go for a small hydrogen turbine engine just to get the thrust. But then we are trying to be as net zero as possible, and we don't want to make too many compromises on it.
Maybe you mentioned this and I missed it, but what's the payload capacity of the vehicle, or the projected payload?
The payload, when it comes to the content that you can put in the road vehicle, it's going to be 1,500 pounds. But in the Army situation, the vehicle itself becomes the payload, because you're carrying the whole vehicle across. So we are targeting a 4,000 to 4,500 pounds payload for a vehicle.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Perfect. I believe that was the last question, unless anyone has, we have time. I think we should have time for one final question, even though we're running a little over time. But if not, and I don't see any hands, we'll wrap it up. But Sam, before I do wrap it up, make sure to leave some of your contact information in the chat so that people can contact you if need be. I know it's a little bit late, and we're probably going to be closing the Zoom soon, but still put it in the chat. And if anyone wants to get connected to you, they can also reach out to myself or Brian or one of the other organizers to make sure that we get through to you. Thank you to everyone who joined. This was a really great event. It was some really fantastic presentations on the company side, and thank you to the panel for the activity and the interest. It's always good to see that there's two really good sides of this, and hopefully we'll be able to connect one with the other, and get some things going to market To answer the questions in the chat, yes, there will be a recording. I will send it out to all of you. On top of that, if you want to talk to any company, have any more questions, want to be connected, feel free to reach out to myself or Brian, like I said. And thank you, everyone, for joining, and have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.